Welcome to Speaking of Strong Style, where we discuss the news, issues, and events surrounding New Japan Pro Wrestling. I am Stephen Conway. With me, as always, Jeremy Feinstone. As we see, we have a special guest this week. This is part one of our two-part Wrestle Kingdom Week preview. We are going live today and tomorrow at this same time because there's just too much to get into in just 1 week. There are a lot of events going on. And, of course, besides the events, we have things that involve New Japan besides Wrestle Kingdom. There's Stardom events, there are Noah events that all tie in to the New Japan canon, but probably the biggest news of the week, we have a new president of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and it is Hiroshi Tanahashi. So what a week this is, going up to the absolute biggest event of the year. So with that in mind, we enlisted a little bit of help. We have Scott Edwards, who is one of the premier Joshi experts on earth, and we're very lucky to have him here with Fight Game Media and a lot of other places. He has his own 5-star Joshi show. He has Stardom Road, which I've been listening to, learning about the history of the company. So we are thrilled to have you here, Scott. Thank you for joining us. And with all this going on, Tanahashi, the big shows this week, it's just kind of overwhelming. How have you been drinking it in on the eve of Dream Queendom tomorrow, one of Stardom's biggest events of the year?
It's time to buckle in. That's how I'm feeling. It's
Yes.
time to. I've gotten all the content done. Now it's just time to enjoy the wrestling part of it, which I think is almost forgotten with the big 3 weeks coming up. But I'm very excited. Every single show we're talking about today, I plan to watch in full form. It's my favorite time of the year in professional wrestling. I can't complain.
Yeah, it's really wonderful, and we're going to be watching a lot of excellent wrestling. We are talking some of the best workers in the world in some of the biggest matches against other top stars on the biggest events for the biggest titles. You really can't ask for a whole lot more than what we're going to be getting over the course of the next week. And Brad has a nice compliment for us. 3 of my favorite Puro voices on one show. Thanks, Brad. We're very glad you're here. And of course, Jeremy. Hello. This is one time. This is one time, Jeremy, where I was glad news dropped the day after we recorded. Because right. I am glad we had a few days to digest the whole idea of Hiroshi Tanahashi as the New Japan president. It kind of came out of the blue. Not kind of. It came out of the blue. I don't think anyone had this on the bingo card that it was going to happen. And now that you've had a few days to drink in this idea of the ace also being president and director, representative director.
Sure.
Initial thoughts? I mean, were you as stunned as I was when this came out? I mean, Tanahashi's always been a place of prominence within New Japan, but president of the company was a bit of a shock.
I was literally like, what the actual fuck is happening? Is this like, is this a joke? Is this some part of like gamesmanship press release before Wrestle Kingdom to like juice some advertisement? I'm like, no, it was just the company met. They're like, money was down this year. They're like, Tanahashi was the answer. I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's see what he's got. I am 100% on board with this. I am ready for it. Let the Tanahashi era, the 3 H's in the Hiroshi Tanahashi era begin. He is going to be really supreme in Japan.
And let's take a look at exactly what this was. Now, Tanahashi was announced as president. Obari is stepping down. Resigning, as it turns out there, though we're not really sure if he was resigned or if he actually did want to step down from the job. But a couple of things that were very interesting about this, and of course the biggest one is that they named Tanahashi as the president. But Hitoshi Matsumoto, chief of business production at TV Asahi, is also a director. So there's somebody involved with their primary television outlet in a high position with the company. And this part jumped right out at me, Scott. I'm sure it did for you too. Taro Okada, the president and CEO of Bushiroad Fight, who was recently kind of put in charge of the Stardom end of things, is also a director on a part-time basis. And the part that immediately came to mind for me is that maybe the idea here is to have more of a liaison between the two companies and an improved version of the stumbling out of the gate cooperation we've seen between New Japan and Stardom. I don't think Okada being there is anything short of a signal that they want a little bit more synergy between the two, don't you think? Otherwise, why do that?
Yeah, that was my first thought. I mean, after the initial, Tanahashi, like I didn't look at anything else. I'm not gonna lie. When Tanahashi was announced, I couldn't focus on anything else.
Yeah, I know.
Kind of the hook, right?
Yes, someone gave me a DM. Someone DM'd me, and they're like, "Oh yeah, do you also know that like the guy that just took over Bushiroad Fight is also working for them?" I was like, "Oh."
Hmm.
No, I don't, which is obviously a big deal, and hopefully it creates more synergy between the two promotions. I think that's a must when two titles have New Japan names, but are not being included on New Japan cards, at least in Japan. Also, just before we get past the Tanahashi thing, my first thought was,
What's that?
oh wow, Kazuchika Okada's got a lot of power. I was like, but I will say when I saw the Tanahashi thing, I was like, wow, at least I feel a lot more confident in him sticking around. That was truthfully how I felt about Okada. And I think for New Japan, that's maybe the most important thing in the whole wide world.
It's an interesting thing that after a bad business year, they replaced the business guy with a wrestling guy. Now, Tanahashi isn't just like it's been mentioned before. Tanahashi is not some dumb jock. He graduated from a prestigious university in Japan. This is a smart man, and it's one of those things where how much business acumen does he have? I guess we're going to find out. The key to this to me is they decided to go with somebody who has good relations with the locker room, is considered a locker room leader as the president. It tells me a little bit that maybe Bushiroad looked at this and said, we need to have a better relationship with the boys in that room. And then we need that there may have been fences mended that needed to be mended there in that direction.
There's a lot of corporate interference was the inference that I got.
Yeah, it may be too much, right? And I'm looking at this, and here's the obvious question that Brad asked. But by the way, Brad, I like this. He said, I was playing a game on my iPad before bed, logged on to Twitter to see if anything was going on and saw the news. I was up for an hour reading up on it. I was wired from the news. First of all, the response to this was almost universally extraordinarily positive. Both from the guys that were tweeting it, which might be, you could say that's political. You can try to pass that off but fans, people from other promotions coming on and just like saying, this is a really good thing, guys. This is good news. And a lot of people seem to have a lot of trust that Tanahashi is at least going to have the business's best interests in mind, certainly. And, this does not appear to be anything no one's inferring this is some kind of power grab. I mean, everyone seems very positive about this, which is interesting. Tanahashi is the fourth pro wrestler to be the president of New Japan. It's not unprecedented at all. In fact, well, obviously Inoki, right? He was owner, operator, chief bottle washer, everything. And then after that, Seiji Sakaguchi was president, and Tatsumi Fujinami after him. It is, however, the first wrestler to be president since Bushiroad bought it. It's been business guys before that. And just to take another look at, I mentioned the fourth wrestler to be president, and the question is, what changes will Tanahashi make? And the answer is we have no idea. And he addressed the press a little bit and was very diplomatic, didn't say a whole lot, didn't mention any real changes. And Brad thinks, do you think President Ace eventually replaces Gedo? What changes are coming? We have no idea. He said basically that he wanted to sell out the Tokyo Dome. I'd imagine that's always the goal, isn't it? It's, to raise attendance. So he was very diplomatic and just kind of saying that we're going to try to get, we want to put smiles on the face of the fans is really what he said. It sounded very, very press releasey rather than any real insight. He's also going to address the fans at the Tokyo Dome. So we're going to hear a little bit more there. New Japan doesn't really do radical shifts immediately. That's just not the way they've ever really done business. I don't expect any of that. I think the changes we'll see will be subtle and kind of roll in, and we'll notice them a little bit later rather than some big reset. Like, okay, now everything's going to be different. We're going to do everything. Are they going to replace Gedo? We don't know. And you know what? They're not going to tell us. They don't talk publicly about who the booker is, because remember, New Japan kind of keeps a little bit of a notion of kayfabe going right there. There isn't some booker that they're going to announce, and they don't really have a head of creative department that they can put out in a press release, and they don't have to because they're not in the same corporate structure as WWE. So my thoughts on that are we're just going to have to wait and see. I wonder what changes are coming in terms of the schedule. We mentioned El Phantasmo last week here on this show. Guys said that tag team, the World Tag League, was a terribly tough schedule. It was the 20 shows in 13 days.
God, that was brutal when he said it.
The New Japan Cup apparently is going to be on a very tight schedule, but that was almost certainly planned before Tanahashi took over. That only happened a few days ago. You know, one of my things will be, will Tanahashi do things like putting the brakes on the schedule, and will he be the guy that goes to Bushi Road or whoever's in charge of that stuff and just say, hey guys, on the style that you want us to wrestle, maybe 5 or 6 days a week ain't a good idea. You know, maybe we do the same number of shows over 4 weeks instead of 3 and put some off days in. You know, maybe some of those changes, some of those more wrestler friendly things, and like, you know, try to minimize these injuries, ease up on the wear and tear. That's the first thing I thought of, is now we have a guy who might be able to be in a position of authority, go to the higher up suits and say, this is what would be best for the wrestlers, which would therefore create a better show, which would therefore help everybody. And maybe that's what Bushi Road felt they needed.
Go ahead, Scott.
It's funny you bring up scheduling. Taro Okada obviously has been placed into one company, or ahead of, or let me rephrase, to push one promotion under Bushi Road to ease up on scheduling. So maybe that's also part of his job now here in New Japan, to readjust scheduling. I will say on him, before we get more into the Tanahashi aspect and him, kind of speaking for the roster, which I think is a great person to have in the room at all times. I think that's something that's necessary anyways in wrestling these days, just because I'm not saying that wrestlers should be booking their own matches or anything, but wrestlers should be able to have a voice and say, hey, we're getting banged up. Hey, we're getting, this is tough. This is tough. And especially after the past couple of years, I know these two companies in Bushi Road, they're top 2 companies in Japan, but they're trying to make up for money with more shows. And it's like, not everyone's taking nights off, there's the Naitos and stuff that happily take nights off, but he has to. He's not, he doesn't have the ability to not take nights off. But I think that's very important. I think that's part of the reason Taro Okada is now part of New Japan as well, hopefully, is to ease these schedules and to really work in favor of the roster. Because to me, if you don't have roster members around, if you don't have your key contributors around all the time because they get banged up or whatever, that's not going to help business at the end of the day. If you have to cut what will ultimately not be that many shows, from our knowledge, it'll be okay. New Japan takes off gaps and then they run like a week in a row, right? They'll run like 6 shows in 7 days. And it's like, all right, well, you see that week that we took off? Let's sprinkle it in instead. And you don't want them to get banged up. And I think El Phantasmo, saying that really puts a highlight of what these guys go through that we don't probably notice because we're just watching the shows.
I mean, in hindsight, when you're thinking about the schedule from the G1 till now, and you had some of the mid-level to upper main event guys there for most of the time, but Okada wasn't there all the time. He would come in and do some match setups before they would do the 6-man match, some at the end of these tours. Then you would have like World Tag League and the Super Junior Tag League. But while they were there, you'd almost see the gap in the roster management for New Japan, because it was so dense at the Super Junior level, but even the undercard, it didn't have the star power. And when they're trying to get people to show up to these cards, unfortunately, you do need more of that star power. Sonata wasn't the star power that they could get the people to the seats. And Naito wasn't there with the eye surgery. Desperado was out with injury. So it's like where do you find that depth and that management? You're also sending guys to the States for these strong shows throughout October and November, and you're not using that full roster. You're using the key guys from the main show. There's a point where everything bends, and then there's a point where it all kind of breaks. And when you're being aggressive, trying to get people back to sell at the Tokyo Dome, which is what Tanahashi has stated. He wants to sell at the Tokyo Dome again. He wants to have long-term storytelling that's going 3 years with the generational talent that he has now. So you have to manage the roster in the right way, and you have to manage your events so that the expectation of the crowd is met, but you're not killing your talent. And I think having a president like Tanahashi there is going to mitigate that a lot.
And we'll just have to see, like, if he listens to the folks in the locker room about other things. Like El Phantasmo mentioned that he didn't feel like the junior heavyweight division got the respect it deserves, and for the most part, I think that's been fairly true with this current anymore, past administration. That maybe that they were treating that a little bit lightly. So, we don't know. We're just going to have to see what Tanahashi does. We're going to see it in the ring. It's a quieter company in that sense. They aren't going to be making, what I'm saying is, don't look for a ton of public pronouncements of here is all this stuff that's changing. We're going to have to read the tea leaves.
I followed ELP on Twitter after all this, and he was a firm big fan of Tanahashi. He was out there and he was like, go away. So he was one of many that were making those public declarations. So definitely, like you said, the public pronunciations are positive. Anyone making complaints is probably going to be behind the scenes.
Yeah. So we'll just have to wait and see. And I'm very curious to hear what he says about it at the Tokyo Dome. He says he's going to continue as an active wrestler. He had already been slowing down a little bit. He wasn't doing all the shows, and although he was still doing quite a few. But that's a job that people have done while an active wrestler before. It has happened. So Fujinami was a pretty active wrestler when he was president there, and certainly Inoki was headlining everything back then. So
I am also very curious how this will affect the AEW relationship in terms of the give and take, because I think Tanahashi will be friendly with AEW, but at the same time will protect the interests of New Japan and the way that its talents are booked, with a little bit more of a backbone than somebody coming in and working a corporate relationship with Tony Khan and figuring it out that way. And then Gedo kind of being like, this is what they have to do, so we'll figure it out. I feel like that dichotomy might shift a little bit.
All right. Well, it's going to be let's get some comments over here, because Dunstan Williams is here. Dunstan, hello. He says, I'm interested on if we can tell any changes to New Japan with Tana in charge, like Hunter, who took over the booking. We don't know that he's taking over booking. Gedo might keep his job.
Yeah,
right? There's nothing that says Geto's been the booker through several presidents. And he's been booker, I think, since 2010 or 2011.
It's going to be overview stuff. It's going to be like, this is what we need to aim for, and Geto's booking plans will be tailored towards the overall goals of what the promotion is ideal. But Geto's still going to be doing the match layout and all that, right?
As far as we know. But Tanahashi is considered one of the best there is at putting a match together. So if he has a little bit more influence on that, now that he's president, I don't think that'll be a bad thing at all. What should Tana avoid to change or not repeat from former presidents? Well, I think we've covered a little bit of that. Like the relationship with AEW could use some revision. The relationship with Stardom could use a little revision. I think everybody
belt pullback.
Maybe so. I would also like to see just a little bit more consistency when they do make a pronouncement. One of the things about Obari and then before him, both the New Japan women's titles, both of them, and the TV title were announced as something other than what they turned out to be. The TV title was supposed to be for young wrestlers. I'm not complaining about Zack Sabre Jr.'s title reign. He's been fantastic. His matches have been great. But when they introduced that title, this is going to be for younger guys. The title matches are going to be in towns that don't always get title matches. That's something that Tanahashi did bring up, that there's been a little bit too much sameness as far as where title matches happen, to the point that maybe the big towns are kind of, the effect has worn off a little bit. And then the small towns are just getting 6-man main events that don't mean a whole lot in the canon. That's something that, if you want to go to these smaller towns, give them a little something, but that was the TV title was going to do that. And then it never did. We talked about what, the IWGP women's title was going to be a part of these big shows. We were thinking Wrestle Kingdom and Dominion and maybe King of Pro Wrestling was going to have a title match on it with the women. And then we've seen what hasn't happened with that. And so, I would like it if they maybe stuck with the plan a little bit, if, on those occasions. Maybe Tanahashi can help with that. Maybe he can be the guy that says, look, we told the fans this. We planned this out. This is what we had in mind. Injuries are always going to be a factor in that kind of stuff. No question. But as far as avoiding things that he could avoid breaking your promises. That'll always help with fans. Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much covered all of it. There's a lot of it is wait and see, but I think this is a good thing, and I'm going to continue operating that this is probably in the long term, probably one of the best decisions New Japan is probably going to make for a club for the foreseeable future.
Hiryu is here. Hiryu says NJPW and Stardom both need to scale back on their schedules. Quality of life for the talent is better than quantity. Well, I think we all agree. If not that, just space them out a little bit better, especially with New Japan, which will take those chunks of time off and then all of a sudden run the guys absolutely ragged. And then
what
go ahead.
Tanahashi should do?
Let's hear
it. This is just me needing someone to tell Gato this. Push the younger talent.
Yeah.
Enough of waiting. There's no reason to wait anymore.
Yeah.
Like I know
that I absolutely agree.
I know they have matches on Wrestle Kingdom. I get that, but they should be higher on the card. There's no reason with Will Ospreay leaving and now in a 3-way match that Shota Umino shouldn't be champion right now. There's no reason. You can't convince me. There's no reason, truthfully, that Yota Tsuji shouldn't be champion right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? They decided what they wanted. They want Sonata and Naito. That's fine. That's 18 years of history. I'm okay with that. But the young guys need to be pushed in 2024. No more G1 where all of them are in the same block and none of them advance and none of them get anywhere. I don't want that anymore.
And that's a fair point. And I tell you what, maybe Tanahashi can help a little bit with some of the safety blanket aspects of, we've called Okada the safety blanket, where you can always just put him back on top if you get scared about something. I know that they want this one last run for Naito, and it'll probably work because the last run for Tanahashi, when he won G1, then beat Kenny Omega, great matches. All of it was great. There was a great feel-good story. And then they moved on to something else not terribly long after that. Tana didn't hold the title all that long that time. I don't know what they're going to do with Naito, but perhaps this whole thing of the youth movement, I think, is very strong. They named them, the other guys, named them the Reiwa Three Musketeers. There's 4 of them. Uemura's right in there with those guys. And it's a matter of, I think it's time I think the fans want it. That's the thing. When I look at the response to Shota and Tsuji and Uemura and Narita as this heel character who's getting real heat now, I think the fans are ready to root for new people. And Okada's always going to be the emeritus, the hero emeritus. Naito is always going to be a big star, and I think people want that roll call. So again, I don't have a problem with this main event and one more run for Naito, but I do feel it needs to be one more, and then after that, maybe have Okada or whoever as the mountain for these guys to climb. But it is time, absolutely, for a little bit of new blood on top, because seeing them stall out in G1 right there, I agree with you, Scott. I think it interrupted some momentum from crowds that sound ready to go nuts for these guys.
Reality's about to kick in for New Japan. Ospreay's not going to be around anymore. You can't count on the Danielsons every year to, like a Danielson or a Kenny, to come in and be a big match on Wrestle Kingdom. You just can't count on that. What you can count on is your talent, your guys. That's the biggest thing. And by the time Wrestle Kingdom 19 comes around, I want to see all those guys be in spots that help sell out the Tokyo Dome, that make people want to see that. I'm not saying you need to run Yota Tsuji versus Shota Umino for the world title next year in the main event. I'm just saying that they need to be up the card. And whatever this global title is supposed to be, maybe that's what they're wrestling for. Maybe one of them's wrestling Okada, right? Like these are the things you have to do, because Naito doesn't have a lot of time left. It's just the truth. Sure, he'll be there, but that man's breaking down more and more. Tanahashi's president now. He's not going to wrestle forever, though he did say he wanted to be IWGP World Champion this year, this upcoming year. Just saying. And that's just how I feel about New Japan as a whole, and that's what I'm hoping for. For every company in Japan right now, the two Bushiroad companies have the best young talent to push right now. To push right now. One of them is doing it. The other one, I know New Japan can, and I think they're going to, but I need to see it.
And Brad mentions this. I think we might see less Americanized style booking like HOT interference and things like that. I think Tana will want to clean that up. We'll find out. We'll see how it goes. That's from Brad.
Oh my gosh.
And
if Evil got to wrestle again, that'd be so cool.
He's pretty good. He's a good wrestler. He should wrestle. So's Kanemaru, so's Ren Narita. Everyone except Yujiro. Yujiro could use the House of Torture stuff. But the rest of them,
manager being a little, jerk on the outside, like that's fine.
Dunstan mentions I think it's more beneficial to them to have fewer U.S. shows. We'll see.
And
maybe
they have less than they have now.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much either do less. If you're doing less, just leave. Just don't do them anymore. They're not doing a whole ton. Maybe one or every other month or so on average. I think every month. But it's. Again, I keep saying it. We'll have to see. We're going to have to read tea leaves, though. There won't be these giant announcements, but it will be entertaining to see how this turns out. And another thing I wanted to mention, too, about the young talent, with the weak yen compared to the U.S. dollar, getting top-level foreign stars is going to be more difficult until that kind of evens out. And now is another reason why that young talent becomes all the more important, because you can't just import American stars all the time. The AEW relationship, if you keep that strong, can help by bringing in these guys for special events. That could help, yes. But if you just want an idea of guys that are in Japan full-time foreign wrestlers, it's if AEW and WWE comes after them, it's hard for them to say no. They can pay them more, and until the yen strengthens a little bit, then maybe looking internally and pushing some new guys it's another reason to do that. It might work out better financially than breaking the bank to bring Americans in who are 30% more expensive than they were just a few years ago.
Yep, absolutely. And I think they're going to learn that. I think they're learning that now. If you want to bring in international talent, you got to go for these kind of unrecognized guys.
Yeah.
Now, right? Cal Newman, for example, you kind of have to make them your own in many ways. And that's kind of what they did with Ospreay. He became their guy, right? Yeah. And Jay White, I know Jay White went through their system, so he's a little bit different, but he was their guy first. You can't always count on these international stars. I think that's what they're going to start doing again. And I think I welcome that. There's growing pains with that, right? That you're not going to have Callum Newman's not going to be a main eventer tomorrow, but if you give him shots like the Ishii match, it's going to get there.
Boy, was that great, man! Did he really do a good job in that? Ishii's a god. It just proves it again. To have that kind of a great match with Newman, that guy can do anything. So, but yeah, he definitely helped himself out right there. So, of course, they also joined this new alliance that we didn't mention it last week. We've gotten into so many other things, but Tanahashi's going to be part of this. That New Japan, Stardom, All Japan, Noah, DDT, Ganbare, Big Japan, Dragon Gate, and Tokyo Joshi Pro. Scott, TJPW. Do a little cooperation.
That's psychotic. Just want everyone to know that. Like on a Joshi level, that is absolutely wild.
That one blew my mind when I saw that one. I just said TJPW. No kidding. Wow. I didn't know anyone had their number.
You know what I read that as? New Japan said so, and then no one has the choice.
Seiji Sakaguchi is the founding chair of this, and really the point of this is going to be for their mission statement is to further the presence of pro wrestling and its cultural merit in Japanese society at large, allow professional wrestling to contribute further to cultural and sporting sectors, and work toward continued health and prosperity of the industry. So it's an industry group. And there are a lot of these in various forms of entertainment and things, and other things, businesses. So I think this is a smart idea, guys, I just want to mention this because, of course, Tanahashi's part of it. New Japan seems to be leading this in a way because the offices are in the New Japan offices. And this seems to be a thing where I think the pandemic scared the pants off of everybody. And what they ended up doing was having 20 points of contact. Every other company was dealing with every prefecture and every local government to try to come up with rules and regulations and a system that would work. And I think what they want to do as much as anything is have one point of contact where if there is a crisis, or if there, or not even necessarily a crisis, but further it culturally, like if we're talking about, some major festivals, maybe having a pro wrestling presence at those, but now there's one group they can call that can speak for not everybody, but most people. You look at that list, that's most of the major promotions in Japan. So if there's another pandemic or crisis at any time, all of these companies can put together a plan and work with the government. And then it's all done at once instead of these poor government officials getting 30 calls from 30 different companies trying to figure out what's going on.
So they got a lobbyist group.
They got a lobbyist group, and they also can do things like they're going to do an interpromotional show, I guess, probably mostly to pay for the letterhead or whatever else their attorney fees through all this. But there's going to be some of that. I think it's going to be more of a lobbyist group,
interest protection and advisement group, politically speaking.
But it's probably a smart thing to do, right? I mean, we saw that it was just chaos in the Wild West there for a long time, and everybody did it a little bit differently. And I think a lot more can get done if they work together in this and just say, okay, this is our plan. What does the government? And if so, then it counts for all of these groups. I think that's just taking a lot of unnecessary steps out of the equation seems healthy to me.
It's always notable who isn't included, by the way.
Yes, it is.
It's funny when this was announced, I said, oh, this is like to avoid like anyone from outside coming in and like, maybe messing with them. And then
it's
all
not
Japan
a national
said,
wrestling
ha,
alliance.
NXT, buddy.
Yeah, this is not them trying to form the National Wrestling Alliance and divide up into territories. That's not what this is.
God, no. That'd be pretty funny though.
It would be, yeah. Michinoku Pro and Sendai Girls are like Sendai Girls and Michinoku Pro are like we're already a territory. Kyushu's are like we're a territory. Like we already have that. No, none of them are into it though. Diana's not there. The Ice Ribbon's not there. That's interesting.
The big one that I noticed was GLEAT, which
GLEAT
kind of tells me how much people don't like them.
And there's the Brad. Don't let the WWE get their claws dug into Japan like they did in the UK group.
Japan didn't listen, so
I mean,
they see an opportunity, and we'll get to it. I got a question for you, Steven, before we go forward. We have a fork in the road here. Do you want to recap the last road to New Japan, touch on any stuff, or do you want to go right to start?
I think we can go right into start. I mean, I think that was quite a ways ago, and I think we're on to this Wrestle Kingdom week, don't you? I mean, I think that's the main thing.
The only two things I would say, I think you mentioned it already, that Callum Newman versus Tomohiro Ishii match is a match that you definitely need to go out of your way to watch. A fantastic match, and there was an angle in the Clark Connors, Thriller Maloney versus Catch 2-2 where TJP got put into a coffin and he may be reborn like Biker Taker into the Undertaker. We're gonna get the Under TJP coming soon.
Is he gonna be suicide?
Maybe.
That'd be sick.
There you go.
We heard it here first, everybody.
It looks like they're doing something in that direction. And of course, Uemura pinned Yota Tsuji in order to get his singles match, which we're going to go over at Wrestle Kingdom right there, which I think we all saw coming because that's all they talked about was that I'm going to get a win by the end of the year. Tsuji says, no, you aren't. And neither one of them's on the Wrestle Kingdom card. So it wasn't too hard to figure out where they were going with that one. That was
a surprisingly fun show to cap off the year before Wrestle Kingdom with the go home. But those were the key takeaways, and definitely fun stuff. So, Scott, there are Stardom slides down there. I'm gonna let you handle that from here on out.
All right. Let me make sure this is in order, shall I?
Absolutely.
Start with the top. I just realized I forgot to put a match slide in here, actually. But yeah, I'll handle the slides. I'll let Steven kind of take over, obviously, because he's the host.
So, do you want to start at the bottom of the card and work toward the main, or
I mean, bottom's quick.
Bottom's quick. So we're starting off with a 4-way tag team match, according to the lineup that I saw here, and it's Queen's Quest, which is Hina and Lady C. The Bari Bari Bombers, Mai Sakurai and Tekla. That's from the Donna Del Mundo group. We have Yuna Mizumori and Saki in there. Saki, we don't get to see her too often. And God's Eye of Ami Sore and Saki Kashima. So that's going to be a little bit of a showcase, sort of a get a lot of people on the card match here. Scott, is that the way you're interpreting? That's a new word I just made up. Interpreting this.
Yeah, it's a way to not do a battle royal. So I'm okay with it. I'm very sick of opening show battle royals.
What are we going to do about the machines, though? Super Strong Machine and Super.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's the solution. I don't have them at all. I will say there's a match before this that they added very late. It's kind of the rookie showcase.
Yeah.
It's Miyu Amasaki, Azusa Inaba, who actually doesn't belong to Stardom, but it's pretty cool that she gets to be on there, and Yuzuki versus Rana Yagami and Sayaka Karara, both of which just debuted at New Blood, as well as Hanako. So it's kind of the rookie showcase, a look into Stardom's future. That should be really good. This is every bit of trying to get everybody on the card. That is my best way to say this match. It probably doesn't matter who wins, truthfully. Unfortunately, I don't think anyone here is getting a title shot. But I will say that Saki, this is the first time she's around since earlier in the year, which is kind of seen throughout this card a little bit of people kind of making their returns. But this isn't the match you're watching the show for. I'll say that.
But I'll tell you what, that rookie thing, like you mentioned right there, I haven't had a chance to see the two debuts yet. I don't think that's dropped on Stardom World yet, but or maybe it has, and I just haven't been able to catch it. It's on YouTube. Pardon me. But Yuzuki, and I mean Hanako's been doing pretty well for a couple of months now. Yuzuki looks like a prodigy to me. I mean, 18 years old. And she has around a dozen matches, and she's been excellent.
She is someone that they're very excited about. They were very excited about her before she even debuted. So I think that should tell you. I'm sorry, just move to the next match. That should tell you a bit about how excited they are for her. They're starting the year off with their first show with a Rookie of the Year tournament. It's been a few years since they held one of those, and the last person to win that was Saya Kamatani. So
whatever she do.
There's a lot of necessary need for that.
Yeah, definitely. Venkin says, I'm surprised Saki's back. Like, it's surprising with all the Cosmic Angels injuries, they didn't call in more colors in there.
A lot of them are injured.
Yeah, a lot of them are. Yeah, everybody's hurt, basically. Yeah. And then, Rana is incredibly impressive. Her match with Shuri was awesome. That came from Brad.
She's also the future of. I said a few weeks ago about Yuzuki. I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to go overboard, but she's the future of pro wrestling. I would say the same about Rana. I think she's. She has the Shuri aspects, like she does some MMA, does some kicks. I think that's a great mix to add to the future of Stardom, which of course kind of continues here in this next match.
Yeah, but before we move on to that, Scott, just a question that I honestly don't know the answer to. Who's doing the training in the Stardom dojo that's churning out these prodigies lately?
It was Milano. But there was an interview recently that he said that like they're barely training because they've been running so many shows that like they get like 1 or 2 training days a month at this stage. So it's really down to the roster training with everyone. But the roster has a lot of, once you join a group, that's really who's training together, truthfully. So the rookies, I think it's still Milano, but we'll see more in the coming months, I think, of how much they get to train. But these rookies are a great class. It's been a while, so it's very exciting.
It's we got our dad joke of the day from Brad. If Rana turns heel and joins Oedo Tai, she's Poison Rana.
I've already heard from people that she should be the Oedo Tai's next leader. Well, not the next leader, but a leader down the line.
Big expectations for her. We already have the Pink Devil as the future of Oedo Tai.
Listen, if you're young and in Stardom, you don't have much time to wait around. Like this isn't,
No, that's true.
We
got a 21-year-old in the main event. Well, she's 20. No, she's 21. Suzu is.
Yeah,
21 in the main event. So there you go. In this one, we have 7-Up, Nanai and Yu teaming with Azumi. And then they're going up against Mei Sarah, who's quickly becoming one of my favorites in the entire company, Mina Shirakawa, and Shuri in a real kind of a jumble tag team. This is not, we don't see a whole lot of, well, I mean, not all these people are in different groups. I mean, we've got a little bit of representation from almost everyone in here. So interesting 6-woman tag, but again, it's just kind of a jumble of people that didn't have a match before.
Kind of an all-star tag. This is your signature undercard match of the night. I think if they get any sort of time, they could put together something really great. I'm very excited to see Azmi and Mei Sarah, obviously. I just actually released an article about Mei Sarah over on voiceofwrestling.com. It's the one article I wrote this year, or in a very long time, that I'm actually proud of. So she's just been fantastic. She's been everything and more that they could have asked for. And 7-Up reforming out of nowhere has been odd. But it is what it is. You got a little super team though on the right. But
yeah, look at that group. It's really fabulous. Venkin's wondering, I wonder how Azumi feels about this Suzu push because they're the same age. Well, it's I'm not exactly sure what
probably feels.
Yeah, I'm really not sure what Rossi is waiting for on Azumi and Starlight. I that is one thing I would love to just pick his brain on. It's just like, why not go with these two? Like they're every time they're in, and I'm not just talking about with each other, but these two are pretty much magic. So I don't know why they're still stuck in the mid card.
Suzu's
Suzu's a superstar. Not arguing that at all. But it's a fair question. It's like, why is Azumi kind of in the middle? And same with Starlight. I like. Why aren't we pulling the trigger on those two? Because it feels like Azumi and Suzu kind of should be pushed at the same level. To me, anyway, they could. That trio could just be rivals. But I mean, there's a lot. The depth in Stardom is ridiculous. But I do wonder why Azumi is kind of stuck where she is.
I talked about this a few weeks ago on my show. There's a young core here now with Azumi, Starlight Kid, Suzu Suzuki, Mei Sarah, and Hanan. The oldest is Starlight Kid at 22 years old. Those are your 5 future stars. And truthfully, I do think that it's going to be the Suzus and Hanans that actually get the shots much more.
Feels like it.
But 2024 is going to be the first year where I really need to see them go with Azumi and Kid. Like I was fine for a couple of years here. They kind of, they had their role. Starlight Kid had a big role in 2022, but she had a really down year this year. Azumi had a pretty good year. This next year is the year that they have to be elevated up the card. I need to see Azumi challenging for the Wonder of Stardom title. I need to see Starlight Kid back in the mix. It's very important now. I'm sure they're not like angry or anything. I'm going to be like, oh, I'm leaving. But I think that they're ready for those opportunities.
Do you think Azumi and Starlight suffer a little bit from having started in Stardom so young that they've been there for years and they aren't new? I mean, as young as they aren't new. So when you bring in
Azumi does.
A new star like Suzu goes straight to the top. She deserves it. She's fantastic. I'm not arguing with it. Hanan is starting to get her push as she develops her personality and working style, and she feels new and exciting. She got rid of the ruffle outfit. Now she looks more like a star. And I just wonder if sometimes, like if Starlight and Azumi have been there for so long that they're part of the furniture to the point that Rossi is paying more attention to the shiny new stuff.
Yeah, I think Azumi definitely is, because she is seen as a veteran on the roster despite her age. So it's like, we can kind of go with you at any time. Starlight Kid's an interesting one because she sells arguably the most merch. That's why you see her come out with a new hat or mask or something, feel like every day. I think this year, after like a year and a half of being kind of on a pedestal for Stardom, they brought her back down. I think in 2024, we're going to see her get back to where she was. But I think you're definitely right, especially with Azumi, that it's almost like we know what you can do. But that Julia match should be a sign of things to come for Azumi, I think.
I think there's some white belt discussion over here. We're going to get to that. I'm going to bring those comments back up when we get closer to it. But all right. So what's the next match here?
Next match we got, one second. I just want to make sure I click the right thing. We have the return of Mayu Iwatani 1
Yay.
week before she defends the IWGP Women's Championship. She'll be teaming with Stars, Suzuki, Hanan, Saida against the young OED team and Fuki Death.
Yeah, so we have an 8-woman tag here, and this one has the classic Stars versus Oedo Tai dynamic to it. So a little showcase for some people here in this one. I think Rena has come a long way, and certainly Hanan has. And then you're looking at, to me, the ones that are in peril in this one are probably Ruaka, Rena, and Sayaida. I think one of those will probably end up eating the fall in this one, but it'll be a terrific match, and just a lot of talent. We've already talked about Starlight in this one. Fukigen Death is probably my guilty pleasure in wrestling. I love her act. I think it's a riot. I get a good kick out of it. And the one that we all know what Iwatani is, we all know what Starlight, but Husky's one of the best in the world. We got to get her up there too. I mean, we've got all these belts, and Husky really needs to be part of it. I just think she's phenomenal.
Sometimes, that's the funny thing. We have all these belts, but we also don't have enough belts, right? In many ways,
like
because ultimately the only belts that anyone cares about are the top 2 belts.
Yeah.
Winning any other belt, I think, is not enough in this company. I have been one to say they need a real, true mid-card belt for the likes of a Hazuki, for the likes of, Starlight Kid and Azumi, who have been sitting around doing nothing for a little bit. I think that would do them a lot of good. The Strong could have been that, but they put it on Julia, so it's like, all right, cool. That's not a mid-card belt at all. I think Hazuki, her unfortunate status is she's retired multiple times, and that might hurt her in getting that big push, but she's the most trustworthy wrestler probably on the roster right now in terms of going out there and putting in 100% effort and just kind of raising up wherever she is. But ultimately, this match is all about getting Mayu ready for the week after.
Yeah, and she's got it's a big title defense against Shuri that we're going to talk about here in a little while. But after that, we have the title matches begin, and after that, it's just a parade of title matches. We have
New Japan time.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. So we have the Strong title here, which is Julia against Megan Bayne. And I'll tell you what, Scott, I think this is the most jeopardy Julia has been in, including winning the title. I think we all knew that deep down that she was going to beat Willow for this thing. She hasn't had a title defense where I just thought she might lose it yet, but they don't beat either one of these two very often, and they're very careful about how they do it. Now, my theory is that Julia is still winning this thing because they've already advertised her for San Jose. And so I have a feeling it's going to be a successful defense, but Megan Bayne has really blossomed, I think, in her role as the monster heel, even though to the point that she's not even that much of a heel. The crowd's starting to chant for her. They're starting to like her. She's done well in this role, certainly. And I expect this story to be Julia trying to climb this mountain, getting swatted back, getting cut off, getting a few moves in, then taking some, huge power shot that flattens her again. And Julia just has to show the fighting spirit to overcome it. That's what I expect. And against the top women, Megan has put together some excellent matches with that structure.
She had a great 15-minute draw against Julia a few weeks ago, about a month ago, actually, that I think pretty much earned her this title match. I don't know if that was the original plan, but boy, oh boy, do I think that made it happen. And what you said, Megan Bayne's gotten to a point where, I think she's really good now and she's really solid. That must mean Tony Khan probably wants her back soon.
Yeah.
So I think that's, this is kind of bringing us towards the end of her run here. Kind of a real chance for her to put on one final big showcase before probably heading back sometime in January, if I had to guess. I think Julia does overcome the mountain, the Amazon, the Megasis, as they call her. But I think it should be a great match, and I think it has the chance to be the best New Japan Strong women's title match we've seen.
It is interesting. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't have much to add, but I will say I do think that New Japan Strong women's title is something of a regular appearing title on AEW in 2024. Maybe not right away, maybe not January or February, but come May or June, that title might be in the mix on programming a little bit more than we might think right now.
I think it's a good shout. I think it's a good shout for sure.
Yeah. Venkin mentions, wasn't Megan already in the Triangle Derby? And yeah, she's going to be. She's going to be.
She's going to be. The Triangle Derby just happens to be one day, so it's it's pretty easy to get through this time around.
Yeah, they're not doing the whole round robin tournament that goes on a couple of weeks anymore.
No, because I've never seen a tournament have a company sputter out the gates in a year like it did for poor Stardom this year. They had some great shows, and ultimately the final was one of the best shows of the year for Stardom.
Yeah,
but I think for the momentum they had, it really hurt the world title picture, which, Julia ultimately lost the title a few months later, which may never get another one now. So
boy. Well, we'll see. We're not there yet. But do you feel like okay, well, let's talk. Well, you feel like she's leaving?
I'm about 60-40 right now.
Okay.
I said 3 years ago, she's the next EO. Like, she's the next person WWE's going to want. So makes too much sense.
You don't get them as marketable as her very often.
No, you do not, unfortunately.
And the thing with her, I talked about here on the show and with Jeremy a little bit. I saw her in person in Las Vegas. That was when I saw Julia, and there is a star aura about her that is not just in the ring. I was sitting in front of a couple. My girlfriend knows wrestling, and she doesn't follow it week to week, but she enjoys seeing it live, and she goes and she understands what's going on. There was a couple behind us where it's clear that this was the guy was the fan and the woman was just his date. And she couldn't have been a whole lot less interested in the show overall. It was on her phone most of the time. And when Julia came out, she just was like, "Oh my God, who's that?" And it was like this thing, like and then you see her in the casino, and which I did a little bit later, and she just looks like a star. I don't know. There is an intangible to her that's not with everybody. And
wrestling Twitter likes to toss around aura a lot.
Yeah.
She has aura.
She has aura. Yeah, it's fascinating to see in person because not everybody has that right there. So I'm not surprised that, like we said, that of course WWE is interested in her. They should be interested in any top star that comes up. Just the question is, are they interested in coming to the United States? And maybe she's a little more interested than most. So
yeah. I'm not completely sold yet, but the psycho in me would love to see the challenge of Stardom having to make up for her not being there, but I don't want to see her go ultimately.
No. Yeah.
But I do welcome the challenge because there's nothing that
Go ahead, Scott. We're going to read Brad's comment in a second for the podcast people.
There's nothing that Rossi Ogawa does better than make new stars. So I don't think he would have a tough time doing so if he has to.
He is the single best booker in the world at doing that. And
you got to warn us before you put a Brad comment like that up.
Well, I say this was just too good. Brad says Julia was praising the Japan toilets being so much more clean than the ones in the U.S. And boy, is that true. Having been to Japan, it was quite startling. I think that keeps her in Stardom. Well, a clean wrestling goes along.
You're a star and you get your own tour bus. You're gonna have your own toilet all the time.
Let's keep in mind Julia was in Las Vegas, which is not the best example either.
No, it's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a tough one. But anyway, let's move on from that. That was funny, though. I appreciate that, Brett. Up next, Aphrodite, back from injury. Of course, they've been back for a little while now, both Utami and Saya Kamatani. They are the Goddess of Stardom Tag Team Champions against a team that, here you go. Natsuko Tora, Momo Watanabe. To me, Momo Watanabe should be the leader of Oedo Tai here, and not as a knock on Natsuko, but I just think Momo... not a lot's happened with her since she left Queen's Quest and joined Oedo Tai. Not enough, anyway. Supremely talented. I don't know if they take the titles off of Aphrodite this quickly, though, Scott. What do you think?
I don't think so either, but there's always a little worry. There's always a little worry, especially after Saya Kamatani said in an interview that she really wants to beat the Mayu Io Shirai tag title record from years ago. And it's like one of those things where it's like they're either going to do that or they're going to lose them instantly. And it's like, all right, that's sick. Awesome. I hope that they have the long title reign because ultimately all roads lead to Saya being World of Stardom champion. sometime in 2024, probably towards the end of the year. But I would like to see these two really lean on each other, especially after the Queen's Quest story told during the summer.
Okay, well, let's see what we got here. We have Brad. Am I crazy to think XL can win this and continue the story of Momo coming out over Queen's Quest? No, I don't think you're crazy. I still think they're underdogs in that sense, but no, I don't think that's crazy. And Misfit Wrestling Podcast says, my wild ass prediction is that Saya may feel slighted that Utami ditched her and Queen's Quest a week after they made up in that cage match. Well, that was just a little thing to get her out of the country a little bit. She was coming over here for a little while.
Yeah, she wanted to go to GCW. Don't we all, I guess. Sorry.
Not all of it.
No, I certainly don't.
No, not everyone.
Oh,
Vankin says Momo no longer wants to be a leader, and Natsuko is a good leader, but compared to Utami, she isn't a good leader. Okay. No, could be. I don't know. I think I like Momo more than most people do. Probably. I think Watanabe's
Momo's great. Momo's very underutilized.
We have next the Wonder of Stardom Championship, the white belt. We have Mirai holding the white belt right there in the graphic against Saori Anu. And, Anu has been a wonderful addition to Stardom this year. I know that she's not particularly a stranger to it, but since coming in as a part of the Cosmic Angels, I've really enjoyed her work there. If there is a title change, we're going to get a title change. That's the key here. The champions aren't in as much jeopardy as usual because we know we're going to have a new champion in the main event, because the belt's vacant. So there isn't the pressure. Well, we got to have a title change. So Mirai could absolutely win this. But this is closer to a toss-up to me. You could go with Saori Anu here for the white belt. I kind of feel like Mirai's going to defend it, though.
It's interesting with Saori.
It's close, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's closer than I expected a rematch to be.
Yeah.
They just did this match, but running it right back makes me think there's a possibility that Saori wins. And there's one thing to this that I think if Saori's winning the belt, it's going to Natsupoi after. And I don't think there's anything in the world that I want more than that.
Yeah.
So and I love Mirai, but I'm almost rooting for that just so Natsupoi can get the belt. But Natsupoi could always beat Mirai as well. That wouldn't be a problem. I think the Wonder Belt is in serious need of getting a refocus. This isn't a Mirai problem. This is a booking thing. I was really hoping that with Tam out, it would take more of a focus, and it just didn't. And it's really been out of whack since Tam won it to get it onto Mirai.
Yeah.
They need to really reset in 2024 with this belt because we were so spoiled with Saya Kamitani's reign and the very little Mina reign that we got. We were very spoiled with those. It needs to get back to that. And if that's a new champion, so be it.
That was one of the more puzzling booking decisions in Stardom's year, was the idea to just cut off Mina's big win at the knees the way they did right away.
At the hands of Tam.
It was just such a smackdown after that story of her coming back from the injury and winning the title and all this. And it was a great story. And then it was like she flew too close to the sun and we're going to smack Mina back down. And I just don't understand why they felt like they needed to do that. And I guess it was to get the belt to Mirai, but geez, have Mirai chase Mina and have a great match out of it rather than make Mina look like she wasn't actually that good, which seemed to be the message they were trying to send. To me, I don't.
Mina hasn't done anything since.
It's baffling to me because she's talented as hell.
Well, I mean, a lot of tag belts, I guess, but
a lot of people are talented as hell in Stardom. It's a deep roster, which is another reason that is maybe WWE can make some inroads with Julia, just because it is such a crowded field on top. Can Julia feel confident that she's going to be in the mix the way she wants to, and make some money in US. I don't know. Maybe that's what they can tell. Let's see. And Dunstan thinks that Anu and Natsupoi is going to be a big money feud that could be beneficial for them next year.
I will say about Saori, I was told this. She got a card in the New Japan card game, which is kind of a big deal. People don't just get those. So I think she may have more of a serious contract than maybe just, being a freelancer that does date by date. For example, Mariah May never got one. So,
yeah,
and Mariah May was full time for 9 months.
Misfit Wrestling Podcast. I still think Hazuki should have won it from Saya in February. He also said that they aren't running that match back, the Anu Mirai match. They aren't running this back if there isn't a title change. He also said Scott's your favorite go-to guy since they blocked on Twitter. So there you go.
One, thank you. Two, so the thing with the rematch is, I think that's what they are trying to make you believe, right?
Yeah.
Is that there is going to be a title change. And I think that's the best feeling going into a big event like this, is that it's not 100%. Last year it was 100% Saya Kamatani was winning over Haruka Umasaki of all people. This year's not that feeling. That's still the most baffling decision, but I haven't let it go and I'm not going to let it go a year later. This is more fitting of the big event. And I do think that if you weren't a big fan of their 30-minute time limit draw, which I wasn't, they're going to absolutely try to steal the show on this show. They're not going to, because the main event is the biggest story of Stardom's year, but they're going to try, and that's what I appreciate.
And but also we got another vote for Poi here. Brad says, get the white belt on the murder pixie as soon as she's the murder pixie. I enjoyed that one. So Suzu Suzuki and Micah. You don't really need a whole lot more than that. We're going to talk about it more than that, but put these two in with the red belt on the line, the vacant red belt, been vacant since Tam Nakano was injured. And this story has been going most of the year. They have been in trios matches together where they bickered like sisters. They have been at war against each other. Scott, they just had this Corrigan Hall main event that was a trios match among the 6 people involved in the top 3 singles matches that we talked about. So Julia and Megan, these two, Anu and Mirai. What a phenomenal match. And they just paired off the 3 singles matches inside of this trios match. These two have such a big sister, little sister, want to claw each other's eyes out dynamic that makes sense. It works. I'm all for it. I love seeing Micah in the main event of one of the biggest shows of the year. Suzu's one of the best female workers in the world. This match is probably going to blow the doors off the place.
There's few times that doing a rematch at the second biggest show of the year is acceptable. This is one of those times. There's been no better story told in Stardom outside of the Queen's Quest leadership story than this one. This is what this show is all about. We've seen it in the first 2 years of Queendom. First year was Shuri finally getting to the top. Second year was Julia finally getting to the top. This is very different, though. This match is bigger than the title. This match, I think, was happening whether Tam Nakano got injured or not, truthfully.
Yeah, you suppose that Suzu was going to beat her and then get to this, right?
I do. I think Suzu Suzuki is supposed to be the World of Stardom champion right now. And I think this would be a defense. But things change. She is not the World of Stardom champion right now. And that gives Micah as good a chance as anyone to win this. I haven't been so 50-50 on a title match in a very long time. Micah's maybe the most over wrestler right now in Stardom. You listen to that Corrigan Hall show where she won the tournament to get this match. There was no one else in that building if you only listen to her matches. There was no one else that mattered. And I think that's exciting. And I think for once, a match that isn't about the title, but the title is the prize at the end of the tunnel, that's exciting for me. This is about destroying one another. Oh, and you win a world championship. Stardom's going with a new world champion no matter what. That is, and they need a new world champion.
Yeah.
The world title is very important to them in this new year, and I'm happy to see whoever they pick. They don't have a bad choice.
Yeah, and you're right. That crowd is ready for this. That crowd is into this story. They're into Micah, and I think it's going to be a really exciting atmosphere there too. I want to get to a couple of comments to here with it, and so Misfit says Micah has to finish the story. It's now or never. But that's the feeling, isn't it? That there's a real sense of honest anticipation for this. Brad says he's won the title on Suzu the whole time. Micah might be the hottest wrestler around that's not named Swerve. Let's see, Dunstan. Both Suzu and Micah have enough presence to be the champion and be the representative for Stardom. I hear you. I want Micah to have her moment, but if Suzu was supposed to beat Tam and then roll with Suzu and have Micah beat Mirai for the white belt, people are into this. This is just an exciting match and an exciting moment. And also, Brad, I wondered this too, Scott. Brad mentioned, I wondered if whoever wins this comes out as leader of a new faction. Micah has not felt like much of a member of DDM for a lot of the year. I know that, that there was, I think, the trios belts for a while there, but we're without her. And she was teaming with May, Sarah, and Suzu for as long as she was teaming with DDM. I mean, do you sense maybe there's a shift coming that in that sense?
I think there's a lot of shift coming. You have a lot of people that aren't part of factions, including Crazy Star, Suzu, and May Sarah, who are kind of like, I don't know the last time I saw two people free for this long.
Yeah.
Like usually by now, they've been added to a faction. But I will say this about the main event before we move on, because we have a lot to talk about.
Yes, we do.
This is the most debated, highly anticipated match I've seen in quite some time for Stardom. Definitely the most debated. I didn't find the Tam and Julia. I've seen that a million times. Just being honest, like that, they just had a lot more history to go off of.
Yeah.
For me, this is the most. No one can agree necessarily on who should win, and I think that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I think
it is.
I've come to terms where I went from Suzu needs to be the next champion to they don't have a bad choice, and I'm going to be happy with either choice because it's going to be the right choice. I think. I think both of them. Here's the thing: if Micah doesn't win, I don't know if she's going to be World of Stardom champion ever. If Suzu doesn't win, I know she's going to be. So that's a big, important part of this puzzle. But it should be a lot of fun. I realize we have about a million other shows to get through, so I'm going to stop talking now.
Yeah.
But I will say to just bring in the New Japan aspect of this.
Yeah.
This is happening right before Wrestle Kingdom. It'll be Mayu defending the IWGP Women's title against Shuri. This is the match I pitched last year in April when Mayu won the title for Dominion, folks.
Yeah.
I pitched it for Dominion. Little did I know we weren't going to do that anymore. So I'm happy we're getting it now on the first ever Ition Stardom Gate. Should be a lot of fun. Should be a great match. They're going to do their best to steal the show right before Wrestle Kingdom, which I think is a lot of fun. So definitely watch that. And as the graphic says, if you're watching the video, 5-Star Joe's show with me. I'm going live tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, to review Stardom Dream Queendom right here on the YouTube channel. You do not want to miss it. Going to have guests. Going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, I have my pay-per-view purchased. I did that today, so I will be watching this show, Dream Queendom, as soon as I wake up tomorrow. And Scott, thank you for walking us through the card. And you're going to stick around for the rest of this discussion too, because there's a lot to talk about. But I'm really excited about it. I think it's fabulous. And Micah not winning the world title ever would kind of make her the Ishii of Stardom in a way, of somebody who's just great. You can always put him in a match and it's fantastic every time, but not quite on that level. So just as I would have liked to see somewhere fit in a title run for Ishii, I'm kind of hoping. I'm not going to complain if Suzu wins, but I'm going to be kind of rooting for Micah. That's just my emotions on that.
I think that's where a lot of people have ended up, truthfully.
Yeah. So there you go.
Jeremy, you're muted.
Yeah.
Jeremy, you're muted.
Jeremy, you're muted. And he's still muted. There he is.
So muted. Anyway, I wanted to add that in addition to Scott's show tomorrow at 1 o'clock, we are going to have our own second show, Reminder, Speaking Strong Style, with Chris Samsa doing the full Wrestle Kingdom preview deep dive. If you want to catch all of these shows, go to the Fight Game Media YouTube channel, and all of our shows will be advertised to you, and you can find them all there. When you see those shows, we'd love it if you like, subscribe, comment, share, just put it out in the world. We love the feedback. We love just getting our stuff aggregated, put it out there. Getting shared with other people, getting discussed, third hand, second hand, not even knowing what kind of radar our podcasts are making.
I don't like being aggregated, actually.
Long and far. I would love it Stephen will love it. Scott will love it.
No, don't include me.
Of joining the
Scott
Fight
doesn't
Game
love it.
Media
Scott doesn't
YouTube
love it.
channel, if you are hearing this, subscribing to any audio feed, speaking of Strong Style or Fight Game Media in it, 5-Star Joshi Show, Powerbomb shows, so on, and so forth. We eternally thank you for that. Let's move on with our regularly scheduled program.
All right, here we go. So again, this just want to run it down again. So that is tomorrow morning. That's Dream Queendom. Triangle Derby is January 1st at the Yokohama Budokan. This is all part of a very ambitious week for Stardom there. And then January 4th at Tokyo Dome City Hall. What was that, Scott? Did I get something wrong there?
The Triangle Derby show's on the 3rd.
It's on the 3rd. I'm sorry. Okay,
yeah,
I beg your pardon. I thought that was New Year's Day. I'm wrong. So that's the 3rd, and then that's Yokohama Budokan, and then January 4th at Tokyo Dome City Halls at Mayu Iwatani Shuri match for the IWGP Women's Title. So both the Strong title and the Women's title both in a little bit of jeopardy this week, where I don't think they really have been in quite a while. So the next show that has to do with the New Japan canon will be really January 2nd, and that is Noah's The New Year, and this is at the Ariake Arena. But what a week this is for Japanese wrestling fans. So Ariake Arena is the arena they built after they tore down
Wrestle Kingdom, baby.
Say again?
Sorry, I'm calling this Road to Wrestle Kingdom show.
It's absolutely the Road to Wrestle Kingdom.
It kind of is, yeah.
What is this match?
But this is in the building, the arena they built when they tore down Differ Ariake, which is the spiritual home of Noah. That was their training facility, their offices, their main building. Where you see, if you go on YouTube or through the archives of Noah shows, you'll see Differ Ariake a lot. They claimed eminent domain for the Olympics and tore it all down, built a brand new arena, and here they are at Ariake Arena. So kind of on the ashes of the old company, and we've got a big show, and it's going to be on the Wrestle Universe service. If you want to watch this, I'll be watching it. And this match that's on the screen right now is Berserk. It's a dark match, an 8-man tag.
There's negative 10% chance I watch this match.
Terry,
your
Yaki.
economy of time does not include making time for this.
No, I actually like teriyaki. Not just
Teriyaki.
Teriyaki's a good wrestler, but
not making up that name.
I watch this.
Super crazy in 2024.
He's my age, I think, maybe older.
If you're wondering, he's not good.
He wasn't particularly great then. At Sushi Katogi, Muhammad Yone, and on the other side you have High 69, Kai Fujimura, Akitoshi Saito, and Hajime Ohara. Who the hell knows? This is a grab bag, if ever there was a grab bag.
I think the right side has a young lion, so there you go.
There you have it. That's probably what's going to happen in that one. But yeah,
a lot of these matches, my main interaction with them has either been all together now and the Wrestle Kingdom in Yokohama events that we had last year, and I feel like a lot of stuff might be building off of those two shows that we have here. So if you saw those are going to help with your understanding of the show, I would.
But this seems to be imagine. This seems to scream out 10 minutes, and everybody gets about 1 minute to shine in there, and then there's a big jumble at the end, and there you go.
Wow, that would be longer than the IWGP Women's Title match last year.
Now you're just trying to hurt us again.
Sorry,
true,
I'm angry.
It is true. Taishi Ozawa against Yu Owada in a singles match. That's another dark match there on the Noah show. I don't have a whole lot to say. I don't know.
I don't know.
A whole lot
these are my guys.
Now we're ready. Next up is let's see what we got. The Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship 3-way match. So we have Ninja Mac and Alejandro. Both are pretty good there. Dragon Bane and Alpha Wolf. They're the champions. And the other challengers, awesome. Yohei and Tasuke. So there's a lot to this. Should be an exciting one.
If you're looking for your new favorite wrestlers, watch Dragon Bane and Alpha Wolf. They're awesome.
What do you know about them? Where are they from?
Mexico. They're brothers.
Okay.
They're actually brothers. And I don't know. I actually don't know where they wrestle in Mexico, because the first time I ever saw them was here. And I remember watching, they had a showcase match against each other, and it was fantastic. I think they wrestle in is it IWRG? That might be where their main home is.
They were in Crash. And
Yeah. The International Wrestling Revolution group. That's where they wrestle the most.
Freelancer, no real, yeah.
Yeah, but Noah was their home this year. And
24 years old.
Yeah. They're Alpha Wolf's this big powerhouse. Dragonbane flies a little bit more. They're great. They're gonna, if you're looking for something from this match to watch, those two. I mean, look at them. They look awesome.
It's good mass. Good hoods on this one.
I'm absolutely all about this. All right, let's do the next one.
All right.
Oh,
all right. So here we have a 6-man tag international sensation match. This is Anthony Green, Jack Morris, and Jake Lee against Titus Alexander, Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr., and Vinny Massaro. So a lot of flavors here. I like Jake Lee a lot. I think he's pretty cool. I like his presentation. I think he's good. And Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr. is really good. There's some good. This could turn out to be a fun match.
Jake Lee is my least favorite wrestler.
What?
Really?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Why?
I just don't. I think his matches are very boring.
Okay. Oh, I like the guy. I don't know.
A lot of people do. I am not one of them.
It is not Von Wagner's son. That's Dr. Wagner Jr.'s son, for the love of God.
I do love Dr. Wagner Jr. He's great.
This is low key, maybe one of my favorite matches set up for the entirety of Wrestle Kingdom week.
Masa Kitamiya against Tomohiro Ishii. Ishii does not have a match right now at Wrestle Kingdom. He might be in the Rambo, but this is going to be amazing. These two are separated at birth. I'm convinced of it. Can't talk me out of it. These are twins, and they are going at it here. Noah versus NJPW. Just the two fire hydrant built tough guys crashing into each other. This is just going to be two semi trucks colliding at full speed. Should be a blast.
If you think that your monthly subscription to Wrestle Universe, this match is worth the price of admission for the entire month, just flat out, whatever you think you're going to pay for it, this match is worth it. I've seen like 30 seconds of clips talking about this match on X, and I'm like, I'm sold. Let's do this. Hasn't happened yet.
Masa Kitamiya, I think, is one of the most underutilized wrestlers in Japan. I think Noah should be going with him. They haven't. And if there's any match that's going to steal the week unexpectedly, Jeremy's absolutely right. I think it might be this one.
And Brad says El Hijo del Ishii versus Ishii. I don't know how old Kitamiya is. Maybe we should check some birth certificates.
He's 30. I believe he's 30.
It doesn't quite work out. It's
going to win the crowd, but I'm not sure it's going to win any work rate awards.
Go Shiozaki against Satoshi Kojima is the next one right there. So these some couple of veterans here that certainly know what they're doing and can still work. So if this one does indeed follow Kitamiya and Ishii on the show, it's a bit of an uphill climb after that. Although both these guys are very capable of having a good wrestling match, that's going to be a very tough act to follow. But maybe that's the best spot for two veterans who have seen and done it all.
Shiozaki still has it. In flashes. Depends which version of him he shows up, though, because he's very beat up. Fair enough.
I think this might be a little bit more smoke and mirrors, but again, they're veterans. You're going to get a good match out of it.
They're just going to chop each other. Let's be honest.
It's going to be, the crowd could be happy by the time the match is over.
They'll all do their signature stuff. It'll be fine. Let's see. We have a tag team match between Haruka Umasaki and Miyuki Takase on one side. And on the other side, we have the Great Sakuya and Nagisa Nozaki. I will be upfront that I'm not as up on these four as I am with some of the other women in wrestling.
Oh.
Scott, what do you know about these?
If this is Sasuke or the Muda...
This is Muda's daughter in kayfabe.
Okay, yes, okay.
In kayfabe.
The baby in the videos from a few months
ago. The baby
ago,
that he turned into
on the side of the road, and then he raised and he missed it, and he this is the payoff.
Yeah, this is the payoff. The Great Sakuya. Never.
What are you talking about? What did you just say? What words just came out of your face? There was a baby on the side of a road a month ago.
This is all truth.
Record scratch.
Are you been into the edibles again? What is going on?
There was a video that came out in which Keiji Muto
I'm listening.
found a baby on the side of the road.
As you do.
And he raised it as his own.
As he should.
And missed the baby to turn it into a baby Muta. And this is the
a month ago? And it's making its debut.
This is the debut of this build in which Muto just misted a baby, and now the baby's all grown up and ready to wrestle in their debut match. Every word coming out of my mouth is the goddamn truth.
It's true. It's very true. I wish it wasn't. But I'm also happy
you missed this.
Makes more sense than the MJF Adam Cole angle from the last pay-per-view.
You know you're not wrong.
It's also more entertaining than the devil angle, but I dig it.
Yeah,
the other three that have faces, they're very good.
The baby missed in a bottle. There you go.
Fed the baby missed in a bottle. Why haven't I seen this? Oh, I'm so embarrassed for myself. Why do I not know about this?
The other three are quite good. So it's the most prominent women's match in Noah yet. So that's exciting. I have no idea who the Great Sakuya is. My guess, based off of literally like seeing the hair of the Great Sakuya, is Riko Kawahata, but that's a marvelous wrestler, which would be very out of nowhere. So I'm just gonna wait. And see what this ends up looking like.
But Umasaki's pretty good, and so is Takase, right?
Very good.
I've heard of those two, at least for sure.
They're very good. They're very good. They're a real tag team on the scene. So at the very least, this should be good, unless the Great Sakuya just goes full gimmick. But I have no idea.
Well, I have to say, I have a feeling
you heard how we got here, right?
Yeah,
it's like,
I have a feeling there's going to be a
match in which, like, hey, we want to make sure that there is a platform for this presentation and nothing more.
Yep.
Someone's getting misted, Steven.
Let's do it. All right, I'm all for having somebody spit their saliva in my face. Who doesn't want that? If that's what getting misted is. That's the one thing. Well, anytime you see somebody with their mouth wide open while getting misted, remember that other person just spitting food coloring in their mouth. It's disgusting. But next up, singles match here that ought to be true. Takashi Segura, the another grizzled veteran right there. Noah has a lot of guys with some miles on them toward the top of the card, but Ulka Sasaki on the other side, singles match in this one. So
first wrestling match for Sasaki, former UFC fighter, former Ryzen fighter. If you're into MMA side of things, have no idea if he's going to be a good wrestler, but I'll tell you what, Takashi Segura is. So
yes. Yeah.
You can't have a much better guy to help you out in your
That's
first
exactly
match.
what I was thinking when I saw this. And like, well, they put him with Segura because Segura should be able to take you could probably take the classic broomstick test, right? You probably have a 3-star match with a broomstick if you put him in there with it. So if Sasaki is any kind of an athlete, Segura could probably do something with him. So they've put him in good hands.
Best wrestler over 50. Right.
You think he might be?
Isn't that Chris Jericho?
No.
Kidding. I'm totally kidding.
No, you really tried to test me there. I think it's probably him. I think it's probably Segura because he can still go like at the high level.
Yeah, it could be. There are a lot of contenders for that actually right now. So we'll see.
There are. They're all.
It's Vank and I love you. It's not Christian Cage.
Christian Cage. I don't even think is he 50?
I'm not sure he's 50. If he is, he's not the best one. But let's see. All right, moving on here. We have now here is the Wrestling Symphony tag team. I'm really excited about this one. Yoshinari Ogawa, I watched back in the Kings Road All Japan days, and so I'm really excited that he's still in wrestling. I got to see him live when I went to see Noah at Korakuen Hall, and I kind of popped for that. I said, this guy's still wrestling. He still wrestles. He still wrestles very well. He's teaming up with Zack Sabre Jr. and facing Hiroshi Tanahashi and Hayata. So we actually have a preview tag for the TV title match at Wrestle Kingdom. And more than just a preview tag, we also get Ogawa and Hayata in this. So this should be an excellent match.
I don't like Hayata at all. That's
okay.
What I like. You know who I do like though? I do like the other two of Tanahashi and Zack Sabre Jr. I can't tell you the last time I saw Ogawa wrestle.
Still does pretty well.
But I'm all for the road to to Wrestle Kingdom here. This is the most road to Wrestle Kingdom match on the show.
Yeah, it is, and I mean, I am curious to see. I mean, that neither one of them are going to be involved in, and neither one of them are going to take the fall. I mean, one of them might get the win, but neither one of them is going to take a loss. And this one, Zach and Tana, I'm talking about here. But it'll be. I think this will be an interesting one. But I think either Ogawa or Hayata are going to take the pin
Hayata
here.
kind of reminds me of the Japanese Jeff Hardy, and I don't know if that's fair or not. But he just kind of got that wiry, like, wrestling about him that I just like. Every time I saw him only 3 or 4 times, and I know I'm making some American wrestling analogies, but sometimes that's the connection.
That's the way you gotta do.
So that you connect with people with what they know, and I get why Scott's like, I'm not into it, but at the same time, like, I think Zack Sabre Jr. and Hiroshi Tanahashi is just going to elevate this entire match and make it interesting in a way on their road to Wrestle Kingdom. Maybe Tanahashi gets a pin over that side, because I really don't think he's beating Zack Sabre Jr.
Okay. All right. What's next?
All right. Let's see what we got here.
We have Daga for the junior heavyweight title match. Daga against Aita, challenger here. So that's going to be, again, not a lot of connective tissue to New Japan on this one, but that's the junior heavyweight championship match.
I can give you some connective tissue to Stardom. Daga dates Xena. Remember
really?
Xena? There you go. I've tried to connect it for you.
She used to be, and he used to be. Isn't he the guy that used to be engaged to Tessa Blanchard too? Or is
they were more than engaged.
They went all the way.
Were they
were married, and then they were no
pardon.
longer married. And Daga has bounced back, it appears, from a devastating situation.
Tough loss.
More Stardom connection there.
Yeah.
Connective tissue.
When Aita tries, he's really good. He doesn't try much, but I feel like this should be the show he tries.
He probably should try. Yeah. If I were giving Aita advice, I'd say try on January 2nd. You're going to have a lot of eyeballs on you, kiddo. Try. Yeah. And Venkin asked, Xena's the one that was in Club Venus, right? Yes. She was. And probably should be again someday, I think. I thought she did real well over there. So, and God knows Club Venus needs members. They don't have very many people.
They have Mina. That's it.
Yeah. What happened to Waka? Is Waka hurt?
She has a tough injury. I forget. It's like something with her neck or something, or her back.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have this elimination match here: Noah and New Japan versus. This is I used to call these the all skate. Back when you were a little kid and you were going to roller skating, they said it's the all skate. Everybody on the floor at the same time. This is the all skate. We have an elimination match that is. Let's see, Juntamiya Iwaki, Shuji Kondo, Daiki Inaba, Kato Kiyomiya, Shota Umino, and Ryohei Oiwa, taking on the House of Torture, and that's Yoshinobu Kanemaru, Sho, Dick Togo, Ren Narita, Evil, Yujiro Takahashi, the whole House of Torture fan family over there for that one. And it's going to be the elimination match and the classic babyface heel dynamic. And of course, all this is going to be a little teaser, a little taste test for Umino and Narita, which is really why everybody's interested in this.
I kind of think that Ren Narita is going to run through Junta, Kondo, and Inabi, and the other guys might get a couple of them in there. But I really get the sense from this that House of Torture is going to look really, really strong in this match.
Of course they are.
Yeah. I mean, I think you do have to build them up as the heels for that thing. I mean, this is a setup match for Wrestle Kingdom. Absolutely. Like the Noah is simply filling in here. This is not a Noah match, even though there are a few Noah wrestlers in it. This is all about Wrestle Kingdom. So they have been keeping Narita mostly away from Umino. He's been cheap shotting Umino. He's been screwing over Umino and his partners. I don't expect there to be anything else in this one.
It feels like Narita is the guy that really needs the most spotlight on this. Shota is established as that babyface guy that everyone wants to get behind. Kiyomiya and Oiwa, their roles are established. It's Narita in House of Torture that has to look like the dangerous Daedric version of Ren that we've all kind of seen here and there. So I just kind of see him running through a bunch of guys.
Yeah, and this is all of House of Torture, and I will say for the Misfit, yeah, I think people are into the House of Torture right now because of Ren Narita.
Their
I mean,
draws,
I know,
maybe.
yeah, it's well, I mean, I think that the addition of Narita, that feud is legitimately hot. The one with Umino and Narita, and I think people are into it. They got some pretty strong reactions at the Road to the Tokyo Dome shows of Korakuen, and he's getting real heel heat there. Narita is for this, so. I understand, I've said many times in this show that I don't think that the interference and weapon stuff that House Torture does is what New Japan does well. I think that it's something that they feel like they need to do, but I don't think they're good at it. But I think adding Narita to it has added something to that act, because that's a hot feud. Whatever you want to say about it, they did a good job of setting up that turn. And now I think that the fans really do want to see Umino get a piece of Ren Narita. So, and the idea of having to go through all of these lackeys and clowns to get to him, I think is going to make the payoff all the sweeter once it finally does happen. So I think it'll end up being effective. It's just, as long as there's not too much Yujiro in there, the rest of them can wrestle. So,
You think anyone gets disqualified for using a steel chair?
Who knows? I mean, can he get to square? I don't know. I don't know about Noah.
It could have an elimination match. The ref could be like, "Nope, you're done. You're out."
Yeah,
Bye.
yeah, they could do something like that. So
I'm just ready for the match to end with everything is evil. So just feels
the
right.
music, man. The music will haunt you.
I actually my guess is that Narita is going to win this match somehow with the X Factor. What does he call it? The double cross. He called it his X Factor is the double cross.
I did like Narita's theme when it came out the other day. I was like, you know what? I'm all right with this. So it was catchy to me.
Grand
dark,
Wizard Narita.
moody sort of way.
So there you go. All right. And then, of course, the GHC heavyweight title, Keno, the champion, against Manabu Soya, the challenger. And that's going to be on top in this card right there.
That's not the main event.
It's not the main. No, it isn't. You're right. No, excuse me. There is one more. The GHC title. I'm sorry. I forgot. I did forget about the special challenge match.
Silly on you for thinking the world title would main event the pay-per-view.
Yeah, no. It's not. This is the semi. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Pardon me, guys. Sorry.
Yeah. This is the Congo grudge match. The dissolution of Congo and Soya and Keno, or
it should be great
at each other. Keno's on fire right now, and so I kind of don't think that they're gonna pivot to Soya, but I think this is an excellent main event and kind of closes the book on the Congo dissolution in a lot of ways. So that's kind of my armchair analysis of this. I think it's going to be a good match, potentially better than the main event.
Well, and that all depends on one guy, doesn't it? There's one guy in the main event I'm not worried about, and that's Marufuji. But that main event is indeed Naomichi Marufuji against Kota Ibushi. And I mean, it'll be fine. It's not going to be bad. I'm not saying this is going to be bad. It's Destiny 2024 special singles match. But I have a little more faith in Marufuji after seeing what is left of Kota Ibushi in his AEW matches. And it seems like a lot has gone out. A lot of wind has gone out of Kota Ibushi's sails. So if Marufuji, if he's in shape, if he's good, if he's healthy, if he can go, it should be terrific. I mean, can you imagine this match 5 years ago? We'd be doing cartwheels over this. I worry about it with what we've seen of Ibushi. It just doesn't seem like there's much left of him right there. But Marufuji is excellent, and if Marufuji can get something out of him, I think they'll be in good shape. I worry for Kota, though. The AEW stuff has really left me concerned with what's left in the tank.
My hot take is that this is either going to be way better than expected or an absolute train wreck.
Yes.
No in between.
Right there with you.
Yeah.
To me, this is the prove it match for Kota Ibushi, but at the same time, I'm like, are you sure you should be trying to prove it right now? And it's like, this is it. Like, he has been back since what, August or July, and he is reporting that he has a broken hand and an ankle that's all messed up, and then he's going to go out there and he's going to do his best. I can't tell if this guy is bullshitting us or if he's legitimately just like, yeah, all these things, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to come out there and I'm going to do my
Made of glass.
backwards handspring, and I'm going to, give you the Kamigoye.
Yeah, I don't know what he's got left. It's a good point, Jeremy, that if he stinks it up in this one, if this is not good on his end, then the specialness is gone from him. Like it's kind of done. Like no one's going to expect he's going to be back this time. I think everyone's just going to have to come to terms that Kota Ibushi is gone if he doesn't show up in this one.
It doesn't help either that Marufuji, he is in a spot where he has his days. Like as people talk about with like Tanahashi, like the good knee days, stuff like that. Marufuji just has is my body gonna go with me this day? We saw against Ospreay, it went with him, right? He was fantastic in that match. And, he had Will Ospreay to help him in that match. I don't know if Kota Ibushi could help him in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. I hope that these two can rise to the occasion. I really do. Yeah. Because there's part of me that watched an old Kota Ibushi match the other day against Tetsuya Naito and said, man, I would love to see 75% of this guy back. Just 75%. And then there's the other part of me that knows that's probably not ever coming back. So,
and I think this is the kind of show and this kind of situation where Marufuji is going to work very hard to get there. I mean, he's not going to want to stink it up in the main event of this show. And Marufuji is the kind of guy that when he does step up, can go up levels, plural, when he absolutely needs to.
Did you guys watch Shinsuke versus Muta last year?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Do you think this will be better or worse in an actual just in-ring aspect?
Ooh. Gut reaction says worse.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's going to be because of Kota, not because of Naomichi.
I think this is being built off of the idea of these two facing off, but I think the idea is greater than the reality at this point. Like, had this been 5 years ago or 6 years ago, like Steven was saying, this would absolutely have been like thermal. People would be talking about it left and right. But right now, this is a match that's like, okay, this is the best thing that Kota Ibushi can kind of get in Japan because of his relationship with New Japan, because of the other promotions that are going on. It's like, this is it. And Tony's not using him for anything other than special attraction matches. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors in what he's doing over there. And then he's training his students and, being very coy about what his actual real health is. And you have a formula for a lot of skepticism rather than a lot of, confident anticipation.
It's not just that he's 75% of what he was or anything like that, but the Kota Ibushi that has appeared in AEW has been a below average wrestler. And that's really hard to watch. It's been hard to watch. He's been below average on those shows.
And he's also been in matches that aren't like that. He's been in like these multi-man matches and these like gimmick matches, hardcore matches. It's like, this is Kota Ibushi's insane, but at the same time, it's like, that's not you don't get the signature Kota Ibushi stuff because he moves fast and he moves spot to spot and crisp. You don't get those sequences and the opportunities. You'll have an opportunity to see what he can do when he's got to go from like a sequence of moves to another sequence of moves, potentially taking some punishment and then getting back to it. I kind of expect Kota Ibushi to win this match, but at the same time, like, I don't expect it to look good when he does.
His biggest, like, if he wants to be capable again, I'm not even saying great again, capable, he needs to learn a new style. And when I say new style, I mean he needs to be the grizzled old vet that just hits hard. That's the one thing I know he can still do. That's it.
Minoru Suzuki.
Yeah, just go in there and start drilling people with your kicks and your forearms, like in chops and slaps. Like, that's your best bet now, dude. You can't do the flips anymore. You gotta get
do one flip a show. You can do one flip. Looks like a high fly flip. Like save the spot, but just like you can't do your Naito matches anymore, buddy.
No, you do
No.
not.
All right, so that's January 2nd. That's the Noah show. That's at the Ariake Arena. So big night for them. We'll see how it turns out there. And then the next thing we wanted to get into here, we have some All Japan news right there in the middle of all this week. It'll be there's a Triple Crown match at Korakuen Hall. That one's on New Year's Day. I remember that. And it has Hiko Nakajima and Kento Miyahara, which should be a phenomenal match. The winner of that one gets something that, again, we did not quite have this one on our bingo cards, but on January 3rd, this will be at Korakuen Hall. Charlie Dempsey will face the Triple Crown champion. Charlie Dempsey from NXT, William Regal's son, will be the challenger for either Nakajima or Kento Miyahara. So this is the one that's got everybody a little bit getting their conspiracy theories going. That is this where is All Japan WWE's next target? They've tried to buy other companies in Japan. I believe Stardom and Noah at various parts. They've tried to purchase, and a lot of people are worried that this is going to be their attempted NXT Japan. Early days and all that kind of stuff. But Charlie Dempsey, interesting choice there for a Triple Crown title shot. So go figure.
I'm afraid.
You think they're going to try to buy All Japan?
WWE always gets something in return. Always. Yeah. Now, sure, is William Regal maybe wanting to send his son to Japan? Absolutely. I think that's very true. But WWE always gets something back. That's what I'm scared about.
Yeah. No, we'll have to see what that is. So, but yeah, I think there are plans afoot, and I think they've always had the idea of, and certainly Triple H, who now seems to have a little bit more control now that Vince is out to pasture creatively anyway. He's always had his eye on having an NXTs around the world. Remember, that was the original idea there, that they were going to have NXTs all over the place. So I think he's got. What's that now?
UK went so well.
But the pandemic nipped that in the bud as well. I think that's the asterisk he would put on that. But you're right. I mean, you're right. It didn't. I mean, for a while before the pandemic, those shows, their takeovers were doing all right over there. So, but I don't want to see it. I don't want an NXT Japan. But I do think that's probably there's going to be another attempt. I think that's probably where this is going.
This is going to happen. At some point, I want to see Ilya Dragunov in All Japan.
That's fair. I would like to see that.
That's like, I was looking at the calendar and looking at the date. I'm like, could it be Ilya Dragunov? And I'm like, no, it cannot. And I am sad. But it could be Charlie Dempsey or Drew Gulak. And I thought, that would be appropriate. And then it turned out to be Charlie Dempsey. And William Regal made his first 1-year moratorium on social media / WWE footage, just
Misfit Wrestling podcast mentioned this. So I mean, WWE didn't buy Noah when they did the Nakamura match. They did it because Nakamura wanted to do it, and he asked. And Triple H
did get something though.
They got something. Yeah, they got Muta in the Hall of Fame. That was they wanted Muta in the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
What can All Japan offer? Is my question.
Yeah, you do wonder, but yeah. Well, I mean, what's your theory? Do you have one?
No. I just hope All Japan just is doing this one thing and they move on, because All Japan had a great 2023. They rebounded, they got attendance up, they did all these great things. They're ending the year with a bang. I would like them to not mess that up.
Here's what I'm telling myself to get through this thing, because I do worry too. I worry too. But here's what I'm telling myself. Triple H loves William Regal. Didn't want to let him go. Got him back as soon as he could, lured him back from AEW when he had a good on-air role going with AEW, all this stuff, right? He's got his son right there in NXT. He's taking care of his son. Charlie Dempsey is being treated well over there. He loves Regal. And I wonder if William Regal didn't just simply go into Triple H's office and say, Paul, can we do this, please? Is this something we can do? And maybe Triple H just said, you know what, Will? Yeah, for you got it, bud. One time, sure. Yeah, send him over there. Give him this experience. If you want it for him, I'll let you do it. And that's how I'm getting through this. I'm hoping that that's all it was.
It's entirely possible that this can be a pipeline situation in some way, shape, or form. What I don't think it is an opportunity for WWE to buy All Japan. Number one, Japan companies don't sell to Western. Number two, Endeavor is not going to be buying a mid-tier Japanese wrestling company so that its WWE property can minorly be increased. Just saying that out loud is just not their priority.
Yeah.
So you might, you know what I mean? It's like there are realities to what this could be right now. And we don't have to fall off a cliff right away.
Well, no, but I mean, I think that I think he wants inroads in Japan, and I do think he wants a version of NXT over there. I really do. I don't think he's given up on that idea.
But I'm not 100% sure that all Japan is going to disappear and get sucked up by the WWE as a result of this.
No, but they might get something. I think they might be looking for something with some infrastructure over there.
Yes.
So I'm saying.
Yeah.
Triple H was running NXT when they took over the UK. His plan was to expand NXT all over the world. He sure would buy a Japanese company to get their fangs in their country if he could. I kind of agree, but I don't know that any companies would sell to him, especially one that seems to be on the way up, as All Japan seems to be.
I just hope that, joining a brand new little union thing that they're doing, the United Japan thing, I would hope you just wouldn't sell to WWE all of a sudden.
Yeah. And Misfit says, I can see Triple H wanting some talent from AJPW, but nothing catastrophic. Well,
that's pretty catastrophic for All Japan. They don't have that much. They have a very small core. That would be catastrophic.
Yeah. And don't forget the Okada rumors. Yeah, I'm not going to worry
I have
about
decided to forget them.
Yeah, me too. It's just, boy.
Thank you, President Ace.
Yeah. Let's hope that can get straightened out. So we don't need any of that. All right. So with that in mind, there is another show going on next week that we haven't gotten to yet, and that's friggin' Wrestle Kingdom. So we're only an hour and 45 into this thing, but I'm having fun. We can keep going if you guys are down with it. We should at least cover it, right? I mean, so here we go.
Touch on it. We got thoughts, but
are we,
John, if you're okay that we do the deep dive tomorrow?
Perfectly fine with me.
Okay. This is only Scott's 34th hour on the air here in the last day or two.
We're gonna keep this under 2 hours, everybody.
Recordings tomorrow.
My dogs are sad about their meal time, so we're gonna keep this under 2 hours.
Francesco Akira and TJP against Clark Connors and Drilla Maloney for the junior tag titles, and we are expecting some sort of the Rambo for the KOPW title to be kind of on the pre-show, I believe, with the final four moving on to New Year's Dash. And that's basically just assume if your favorite wrestler is not on the card, they're in that match. TJP and Francesco Akira, we might be seeing the rebirth of TJP against Clark Connors and Drilla Maloney. These two teams work very well together. This will probably be a terrific match as long as it doesn't get bogged down if TJP decides to go down with some heavy gimmick for a new character, if that is indeed the direction he's going. But barring any kind of silliness, the four of these guys should have a fabulous match.
Yeah, I'm more interested after the kind of promo by Drilla Maloney the other day on the show, where he basically highlighted their journey with each other, starting at the Best of the Super Juniors and all the way through the summer. And frankly, I think this is the right match to start off Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, and this is where we thought they were going with it all along, wasn't it, Jeremy? Through Super Junior Tag League, with the idea that they took the title to Kushida and Kevin Knight in order to get it to the War Dogs, just so that we can do this one later. We didn't burn off Akira and TJP against these guys. So I think it'll be a terrific one. And you're right, a good high speed, aggressive opener for the show should be nice.
Scott, you got any thoughts?
No.
Okay. All right. And there it is, the TV title match. We will have had the preview and the Noah show. Hiroshi Tanahashi, President Tanahashi to us, against Zack Sabre Jr. I don't see much of a point in Tanahashi holding that TV title, so I think this will be another retention for Zack, in my opinion there. But we'll see how that turns out. But should be terrific. Again, this is a good opponent for Tanahashi. You don't have to fly. You can work the mat, and you can work on the ground, and you don't have to jump. You don't have to crash. It can just be hold for hold, and Zack knows how to do that in an entertaining way. I think better than anyone else on the planet. So I'm looking forward to it, because I think this is exactly the kind of match that Tanahashi can have and really excel in the ring.
Yeah, I'm here for this match. I love the Zack Sabre Jr. Campaign for the TV title. You will also be able to watch this show on YouTube, as is all the New Japan TV title matches. So if you aren't able to watch Wrestle Kingdom and you want to catch a show for whatever reason, you'll be able to watch it on YouTube, and you'll get to see the president of New Japan, President Tanahashi, free on YouTube if you don't catch Wrestle Kingdom itself.
And I don't know if it's going to be during this match. Well, not during the match, but after this match or whatever, or in a separate segment. But Tanahashi is going to address the fans about his presidency.
Yeah. It might happen before. It might be between the Rambo and the opening of the show.
Could be.
I just want to say Zack Sabre Jr.'s stock is about to go very high in terms of New Japan, just because of the Ospreay exit and so on. So I don't think he loses the TV title, but I think it's losing it soon because I think he needs to get up the card sooner rather than later.
He's a guy that could hold the global title at some point, just like basically the same matches he's doing now, but with a higher prestige title.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, pardon me, could also be chasing the never open weight too. He'd be a good guy for that.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the special singles match: Yota Tsuji and Yuya Uemura. And I said it right the first time. Look at me. Uemura and Tsuji, we've been seeing this rivalry develop. I think this has potential to be just as good as Narita and Umino. So looking forward to seeing their first meeting and then seeing where they go with it. These two have been tied together since they debuted together and went to all those time limit draws. And it's just chapter one. This is only chapter one.
So Yuya got the pin on Yota at the last match. I kind of think that at this point, Yota should be chasing Yuya to get his pin back and not get it anytime soon. That's personally just kind of how I would like to see this all play out. But we could just be getting his pin back going in through.
I think this is going to be going on a long time. So.
I just think Uemura needs a great showing here. He needs to show out more than any of the other young guys on this show. Everyone else has had a moment, right? I'd say one way or the other. He hasn't. He's obviously been around the least, but I think they're going to be hungry, these two. I think they want to show that they're supposed to be higher on the card sooner rather than later, and I think that's going to benefit both of them.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. They've made a point of not putting Uemura in too many singles matches at all since he came back, whereas the others have gotten a lot of high-profile singles matches. So that kind of thing is they're saving up that for Uemura for this one. So could be a big win for him here to get him started off and put in the same stratosphere as the Rei with Three Musketeers. So, and here we go with this is the one. Again, another teaser. We're not doing Umino versus Narita full blown yet. That's going to be for later in the year where you see these guys really clashing, probably with some kind of maybe even stipulation down the road. But we have for now Shota Umino, Kato Kiyomiya getting a shot here, and Wrestle Kingdom against Evil and Ren Narita. And really, this match is about Narita and Umino to me. And I think it's again, we're setting things up for Umino to get his revenge, but it's not going to come here, I don't think. I think this is all to whet the appetite.
I'm really excited for this match. I know they took the long way around to get to it and gave you the false sense of security to get to that point with the World Tag League. But yes, it's Evil. Yes, he's in his Wrestle Kingdom match. I'm glad it's a tag, and I'm glad it's with these three other guys because he'll be in a role to highlight the others rather than trying to make himself look good.
Shooter's my guy. This is the guy I fully invested in, so I'm very excited for him. But I'm also very excited for Kaito Kiyomiya.
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing I completely disagree on is Kevin Kelly and the way he's kind of talked down Kaito Kiyomiya.
Yeah, we said it here too. Totally agree with you.
It was mystifying.
In almost like a disrespectful way.
Yeah.
What Kiyomiya has done in his involvement in New Japan has been fantastic. I think he has shown up and shown out every single time. And I think he's going to do it again here. He is not someone that looks at a moment and thinks it's too big for him, right? He stepped into the Tokyo Dome with Okada last year. He's willing to create his moments as well. And I think this is going to be just as important for him, maybe for his future, as it is for Umino and Narita. And I would love to just see them let Evil wrestle. I really would. Like, this match could, like, if we just let these four wrestle, this could be an awesome tag team match. I still think it's going to be really good either way, though.
Yeah.
We were talking with Justin Nipper last year, and he was explaining that Kiyomiya in New Japan, it's like a 3 to 5 year plan with him, and we're in year 1+. You know, like the hills that he's climbing to succeed in New Japan in order to come back to Noah, the conquering hero, is basically like the blueprint for all this. And people are really upset because right now he's in the trials period and he's not succeeding. And that's the hero's journey for everybody. So the other thing that I think Evil does win. And I think Evil is the guy that is challenging Naito first after the dome.
Oh, God.
Well, yeah. And I do kind of agree with that, because I think they're going to want Naito's first. I don't think they're going to want any ambiguity for Naito's first title defense. I think they're going to put him in with someone, whether it's Evil, whether it's maybe even Narita, who the crowd absolutely does not want to see as the world champion, a pure heel, because I don't think they're going to want to put him in with anyone who could, even in the least bit, divide the crowd. So I think they're just setting up hardcore heels for Naito, at least for his first defense, because I think they're just going to want that first defense to be everyone behiund the champion. And then you can muddy the waters later.
For Evil's match to be announced so that we could figure out whether he was going to be the guy challenging afterwards.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, Vic. And it's either Evil, Finlay, Narita, somebody that the crowd flipping hates.
I forgot Evil and Finlay were in the same faction.
Kind of. House of Torture's kind of done its own thing since then. But yeah,
they're adjacent, it feels like right now. Running parallel lines with the same train tracks.
This is an interesting one. I'm a little bit surprised that this is the match. I'm not disappointed, because the match that I saw when I saw these two wrestle for the Never Openweight title, and I saw Shingo win it, was an excellent match. I am a little bit surprised they're going right back to it for the Dome, but Tama Tonga and Shingo Takagi, I don't expect a title change here, but I do expect them to have another pretty darn good match. They work well together, and Shingo's one of the best workers on earth.
This sure is better than last year.
Yes.
Shout out to the machine gun.
This is the true conclusion of the C block of the G1. We have gone through a dozen matches after the G1 with C block contestants facing off against each other with a hot potato at the Never Openweight title. This might be the potential third title change of the Never Openweight title since the G1, at least, because Tama Tonga won it off of Finlay, and then Shingo won it off of Tama, and now they're hot potatoing this again. So not the hottest match, not the hottest build, but these guys can deliver, and they've been hitting hard since August.
Dark horse pick for a title change too, in this sense. If we believe that Naito is getting the title in the main event, then they might take this one away from the LIJ faction and give it into the God area. But that they could. They like to spread
I don't know.
things
I
out.
think there might be another title that might be going to the God.
Well, yes. And I mean, there's a lot of options right there, and it also wouldn't hurt to have the two champions as part of the roll call either. I'm just saying that it's a variable that could. It's something that they could do. It's not 100% for Shingo in this one. There's a chance. And here we have Bishamon and against El Fantasmo and Hikuleo, our guest from last week. The IWGP Tag Team Championship versus the Strong Openweight Tag Team title. Both championships on the line. And look, we know what Bishamon's one of the best teams in the world. El Fantasmo is fantastic. Hikuleo, I think, is the most improved wrestler of the year. I expect this to be fabulous. And the first two were excellent. Their first two matches were excellent. And I think this one will be too. And I have a feeling from our conversation last week that Fantasmo and Hikuleo have some very special things planned that are going to be physically impressive and spectacular. And I think it'll be a fun match.
Motivated to show up and show out. I think this match is not going to go 40 minutes like their World Tag League final, but I think it could go 15, and I think they could get everything they need to with this match in that time.
Scott, who would you go with here for the double champions?
It's tough. It's really tough because obviously I've seen some rumors El Phantasmo's contract is coming up.
Oh, I heard that on our show.
Exactly. Which I think is big, obviously. Especially the
At
way
the same time, everybody's contract comes up on the 31st. But the fact that he's making a point to mention it, I think, is definitely radar worthy.
Yeah, and the AEW thing popped up, of course, on your show as well, of how WhatsApp didn't come through for him. I don't know if he is still around. Say February, March. If he is, I think they win. So we'll know, I think, if he's signed. Bishamon, there's not really as many consistent tag teams like them anymore. I think like year in and year out, people want to look at tag team of the year, and they're always like FTR, Young Bucks, blah 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 blah. There's one team that's always consistent, always giving it their all for the past 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is. And Bishamon is that team. And if New Japan wants to keep rolling with them, I get it. There's just not a lot of like last year, right? We all knew Aussie Open was waiting in the wings until they weren't anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think Hikuleo and El Phantasmo are the team waiting in the wings right now. But again, it'll come down to that contract situation. I think it's fine to go with new champions, especially if you want to combine these titles, which it sure feels like they do.
Yeah, and it's a question too of are they trying to rebuild the tag division simply by making a super team for the others to try to be, which would be Goto and Yoshihashi winning World Tag League 3 years in a row, and excuse me, they could just make them into this Mount Everest that everybody else has to try to climb to get over. And you do have the War Dogs, you do have TMDK. There are some really good teams in New Japan, and perhaps the strategy is we're just going to make this thing into such a powerful unit that anyone who finally beats them is going to get over in the process. That might be their strategy there, which would be the argument for Bishamon. If Hikuleo and El Phantasmo are sticking around, it's a young new team that could be exciting. And the counter to that is Goto and Yoshihashi have all that equity, and you can take them away from the titles for a little while, put them in later if you need them, and they're legit contenders at any point. So there's arguments to be made on both sides of this.
Would you guys prefer the titles to be defended both at the same time moving forward, or that the IWGP titles are regularly defended in Japan and the strong titles are regularly defended outside of Japan?
I prefer the latter. I think the strong titles would be great in all cases. I like the idea of the strong titles being the ones that come over to the United States, and the IWGP titles being mostly in Japan. I love the idea of Julia defending her title at Battle in the Valley, but I would like that combined with Mayu Iwatani defending hers on the big pay-per-views of New Japan. That would be my ideal situation for that. That's just my opinion.
Do the strong titles need to exist anymore?
No,
I'm not sure. That's the other side.
But they're going to now that they're tied to AEW.
Well, that one kind of exists.
If they decide that the Eddie Kingston or John Moxley is going to be walking around with 3 belts, the strong titles aren't going anywhere. If they decide to merge it into one title as a result, the strong titles are going bye-bye.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. One singular tag titles for the heavyweight division. You don't need multiple titles. I don't think you need them, but I think that would be a way it could work. How about that?
Sure.
Sure. That would be the way it works.
Absolutely.
Hey,
now
my match. If it's not Masa Kitamiya and Ishii, it's this match.
Yeah, shut up and take my money here. Hiromu Takahashi defending the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title against El Desperado. And my thought on this one is just I'm hoping that it is the crowning moment for Desperado. I think he should be. I've been saying it a while. He is the Black Tiger to Hiromu Takahashi's Liger, the Dynamite Kid to his Tiger Mask, whatever you want to say. And I think he needs that signature victory in a singles match over Hiromu, and then these two will be in their own stratosphere, because right now Hiromu kind of occupies that space by himself. These two we already know that these two are brilliant together. God only knows what they're going to come up with for this match. I can't wait. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy whatever happens, and this one's going to be great.
I'm saving my thought for tomorrow, but I'm here for this.
Okay.
I think El Desperado is the best junior in New Japan, and I think it's time that he gets that respect.
Yeah,
as with a true reign as the champion, and he needs to be Hiromu to get that.
Yeah. Yeah, and their whole story has been for years that Hiromu is the one thing he hasn't been able to get past, and now's the time. He even lost his mask, threw his mask away symbolically during that match, and say, "I'm still fighting you. I'm not hiding." That was dramatic and properly brilliant, and I'm not sure if anything like that's going to happen here. It could, but I think that this is his time. I'm just hoping it's Despe's time.
I think
I tell you that Desperado versus John Muckley from this summer was one of my favorite matches of the year.
It was mine too. I think Desperado had his fun in 2023 for a reason, and I think it's because it's now his time to run the division a little bit.
Yeah, and we mentioned too that Hiromu is a guy who has transcended the junior heavyweight division to the point he doesn't necessarily need to be in it. In that he could be an never open weight contender if Tama Tonga beats him, because he's one of the few juniors that has gone over heavyweights in things like the New Japan Cup and in other places, and it hasn't looked weird or hasn't been portrayed as some massive fluke or an upset. Like, he's a junior heavyweight that beats heavyweights, and so they might have other plans for Hiromu in that sense too. And it might be time for Desperado to carry that mantle. So yeah,
there's also the part though they might want to finally do Naito and Hiromu at anniversary show. So
yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah. A lot of arguments. I mean, but that just shows you how exciting that is. That could go either way. Here is the rematch of the year: Kazuchika Okada and Bryan Danielson. We can finally get that finish that we didn't get because Danielson broke his arm and they couldn't do all the dramatic near falls. They had to improvise. Okada and Danielson, I don't think a whole lot more needs to be. Like, Scott, you're just pumping your fist literally right here. You're as excited about this as we are, aren't we?
Bryan Danielson in the Tokyo Dome. It doesn't get better than that, folks. It just doesn't. You don't get two of the best in the world in their primes all that much going head to head at the biggest show of the year. You don't. You just don't. And Danielson is on the run of a lifetime, like the run of any lifetime. His Continental Classic run is one of the great tournament runs I've seen. Fantastic stuff. He's beat down. He has one eye. It doesn't matter. He's going in there and he's going to face a man who has made the Tokyo Dome his home, right? Yeah. And it just doesn't get better than this. I don't care who wins. I know Okada's winning, because if he's not winning, then what the hell are we doing?
Right.
But man, oh man, am I excited. Like, this is it for me. Like, everyone was so excited about Kenny and Ospreay for good reason last year. This feels like I don't even count the Forbidden Door one. This feels like first time because it's happening in Japan this time. Yeah. And to me, that makes it bigger.
The only thing that can make Danielson's 2024 better is if he gets an Arena Mexico match in there somewhere too. Like right now he
will.
I hope so.
I hated the Forbidden Door match. There is a very low bar to clear in order for this match to be better than that match. Please join us tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Eastern to hear more of my thoughts about this match as we continue to dive deeper into it on Speaking Strong Style with Chris Hip.
All right.
I'm sorry, continue.
All right. Well, up next, there's only one thing that could possibly follow that one in terms of that. Well, there are two matches that will follow it, but this is an intriguing matchup right here, just from storyline standpoint. We have the IWGP US UK Heavyweight Championship 3-way matches for a title that is none of those. It's the Global Championship that's coming out of this. Will Ospreay, Jon Moxley, David Finlay. Will's going to AEW. Mox is in AEW. Finlay's in New Japan. I don't think that necessarily means Finlay wins this. We'll go into all the arguments here. Scott, which way are you leaning here? I'll tell you what, very quickly, and again, we'll dive deeper into this tomorrow. I don't think Ospreay's winning because I don't understand why you would do the whole thing of changing around the belts if this is just going to be a defense. Plus, he's leaving. But I do think it comes down to Moxley and Finlay. You could make a really good case for Moxley winning this and Finlay getting his push with the New Japan Cup later. Or you could just go with Finlay if you wanted to make him the global champion and try to push him in that direction. So to me, you could do something like Finlay challenging Naito later and then getting a push in the cup and not having this global title, having it on Moxley, and you can do stories with Moxley coming in and out, like when he was the U.S. champion in the first place. Moxley loves New Japan. New Japan loves him. And so I think that it comes down to these two. I honestly can't decide which way I think it's going to go. Where are your thoughts on it?
Battle in the Valley.
Yes.
Will Ospreay defends the IWGP Global Championship against Kazuchika Okada.
You think that's how it's going to go?
He already threw it out there. You basically tease ticket sales off of a match that if you then do not promise, that is bad form.
You don't need the global title for that. If there was ever a match where you didn't need a belt for it, it's that one, right? You don't need the belt for that.
But he put the title on there. So if there's a scenario that I think works really, really well here, and it's Jon Moxley taking the pin, but Will Ospreay stealing the pin from David Finlay. I think that is a scenario that serves many, many masters. Can set up Ospreay and Finlay later on. Yeah. Moxley hasn't lost in 5 years, so there is clout to pinning Moxley. And if Finlay is in any position to appear to have it in hand and is stolen from him, it makes him incredibly viable going for a world title contendership moving forward.
And it could make him just go completely unhinged also. You could also play it that way, that he just loses his shit. Okay. All right. You may have talked me into that.
My last point is they want to make this global title the title that goes around the world, right? We talked about it earlier on the show of coming up and, guaranteeing your promises that you've made about these championships. They didn't do it with the IWGP Women's title. They haven't done it with, all these belts. This is the one. You have a new shot to do it right. Feels like it would be doing it right if you had Ospreay win and defend against Okada. And then maybe Okada gets that big time reign with this belt to really establish it. I have no idea what the point of this belt is besides having a new name, truthfully.
Yeah.
Personally, I would have loved if it was just called Intercontinental.
Me too.
As long as it looks good, I don't care.
Frankly, I kind of think that if Tanahashi was made president in July, we would be having a different title right now.
Yeah. And the other thing I just keep going back to is that they didn't want to take the U.S. title off of Moxley to begin with. That was travel issues that did that, and a hurricane, a typhoon. So this may be a course correction in a little bit of a way, in that they can get him back to it, because they didn't want to take that thing off of him. I think he might still be the champion, probably not by all the way to here, but they didn't want to vacate that thing. That was just something that happened. So, but it's a testament to how interesting this little time is with AEW coming into the Ospreay situation, Finlay's ascension to the top of Bullet Club, that this match could go about 9 different ways, and each of which is interesting in its own direction.
That was my quick. I thought this through booking? I'm like, how could you do it? And I feel like that's the way that you can do it.
Yeah, that's intriguing. That's an interesting way of doing it there. That was my only part about Ospreay and Okada, is it's almost like Okada Danielson, in that just put those two in the ring. You don't need a belt in there. But anyway, here's a belt. IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, Sonata against Tetsuya Naito. Boy, would this crowd leave unhappy if it's anything except a Naito win and a roll call. I don't see them disappointing the crowd to that level. I think you could always make the case, back when Naito came close and didn't get it, that is coming. Here it is. I don't think you can depend on Naito's body holding up. I think you got to do it now. This seems like this is the coronation. Finally, Naito gets everything he wanted, the roll call, the whole thing. I have a feeling we're getting it on the 4th. That's my thought. Scott.
The final run of Tetsuya Naito starts here. the last big title reign, gets the roll call. It feels too right. It would be wrong to not do this one more time with, the right way. And there's very few things in wrestling better than a Tetsuya Naito main event. You saw it in the G1 with Ospreay and Okada back-to-back nights. I think he can deliver against Sonata. There's 18 years of history here that they're going to go on. I know people haven't loved the build to the match. I know people have wanted Sonata to do more, but it wouldn't be right if Sonata did more. Wouldn't be fitting of the Sonata character. I think when the bell rings, that's when it matters. I think Naito shows out as he always does, and finally gets that roll call in the Tokyo Dome.
I agree with you. I think this is time.
The Sonata run has been somewhat of a disappointment, but maybe will help his career in the long run, that he will have a longer longevity because of a brief time on top. But, frankly, if you were watching New Japan in 2018 and you saw Tanahashi win the G1, and then you saw him go to Wrestle Kingdom, and then you saw a brief title reign afterwards, but you got the major beats of it, I kind of think we're getting something very similar to that with Naito in 2024. So I don't think it's a long title reign. I think it's for the moment, but once the moment has passed, we are going to be moving on very quickly into Overdrive, the plan to 2024 in New Japan.
Naito.
Yeah, it just feels like, and then they've been doing just in increments. Like the last time he won the title, but he didn't get to do the roll call because Kenta attacked him. It's like,
oh my god, if that happens again, I will lose my mind.
Well, how about this? I'm going to roll this out there. I'm going to roll it out to Chris too and see what you think. Does someone try to interrupt? Do they tease the idea that someone tries to interrupt the roll call and ends up getting run off? I would think that would be funny if somebody slid in and tried to do it, and and then they're upended and thrown out, and then all right, now we're doing it. I get it. That would tickle me.
That would be funny, but I will be very angry.
I mean, I want the roll call. I don't want him to lose it, but I wonder if they would just tease that somebody's going to come out and interrupt it.
I think it's fair to have someone like come halfway down the aisle and just be like, no, get away. You get your match. Just get away from me. Go.
Xanderkin jumps out from the audience and stops it, and then he finally gets inducted.
There you go. Then they bring him in and put his name in it. How about that?
Either that or Yoda absolutely destroys someone on the walkway or something.
Spears the shit out of him.
Scott, we had a supersized episode today, but go ahead and give your plugs out for your show tomorrow and everything going on.
Yeah, right here, Fight Game Media Network, YouTube channel. I'll be back live 1 p.m. Eastern to review Stardom Dream Kingdom 2023. That show's happening in a few hours, so I'm going to be tired. We're going to have a good time. It's going to be fun. Follow me at Scotty Wrestling on Twitter/X, and that's about it. I'm not plugging everything else.
Fair enough. Well, Jeremy, we'll be back tomorrow at our regular time, just on Friday with Chris Samsa, and we will do a deep dive again on Wrestle Kingdom, talk about all of the various possibilities and angles. It was a supersized show, but this is a supersized week. I mean, I can't think of it.
Kingdom side show, Steven.
I can't think of anything that I wouldn't have wanted to cut out of this. I think all of this was important to talk about. It's the best week of the year, and I'm so excited that it's starting up very early tomorrow morning.
Are we going to have 4 hours of content this week, Steven? I think so.
I think we could. We tend to go on with Chris. So it's a lot of fun. So and USV EVA guy is here too. Here's the contrary opinion. I would adore if Sonata wins. I saw the sad Naito fans leaving the dome. It would be great to see it again. That's a heel turn right there. Come on now. That's just a chaos.
Not LIJ chaos.
There you go.
With just 5 guys.
With that in mind, we hope everybody can join us tomorrow. We're going to have a good time with Chris Sampson there. And don't forget the Dream Kingdom review show with Scott right here on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. For Scott, for Jeremy, I'm Stephen Conway. Thanks for watching Speaking of Strong Style today. We will see you tomorrow for part 2 of our Wrestle Kingdom Week preview. We'll talk to you again very soon.